welcome you to Atlanta International Raceway, about 30 miles south of Atlanta, for the ARCA Permatex 300 on a very cloudy and cool Saturday afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. Joining me in the broadcast booth for today's race will be Larry Newber, and a former ARCA driver who also won a NASCAR race here at Atlanta earlier this year, the Atlanta Invitational, Benny Parsons. Gentlemen.
Not only did Benny used to drive ARCA, but actually was a two-time ARCA champion, so he knows from where he speaks. ARCA. The field every year seems to get better and better, and I think the quality of the field here at Atlanta this weekend is the best I've ever seen. It's also the largest, Benny, since a race at the Michigan State Fair in Detroit in 1959.
It's a great field of cars. 70 cars tried to make this field. Only 40 could start. Living proof, Larry, what money can do, because this race today, folks, pays $11,000. That's about twice what an ARCA race normally pays.
Well, because the weather is so cold here, they've actually already fired the engines, and our colleague down on pit road, Jack Arute, will be dodging cold weather and maybe some other factors as this race wears on. Jack?
Well, Larry, as you watch the field pass in front of me and behind me, you can see just how extensive the field is for today's ARCA event. There's light for Winston Cup cars after they're concluded their division in Winston Cup competition. They come here to ARCA, and they compete quite well, I might add. In fact, the car that is on the pole is a former show car for Cale Yarborough's Hardee's organization. It won here back in 1984. It was sold to Bill Venturini just 2 years ago on this very weekend, when Yarborough's crew switched from Chevrolet to Ford. So it's won here before. Venturini would like to make it win number 2 here today. Gentlemen?
All right, thank you, Jack. As we indicated, the weather kind of overcast here this afternoon. The temperature 57 degrees, a high humidity, northeasterly breeze at about 12 miles an hour, and the weatherman calls for a 30% chance of rain. We'll be back to introduce to you the 40 cars starting lineup in just a moment.
In the beginning of recorded history, man had an idea called a caravan. Slow and plodding, but right for its time. Some years later, man had a better idea. Dodge Caravan. Efficient, versatile, and perfect for its time. With front-wheel drive and a 550 protection plan, which is why Dodge Caravan has no equal in the civilized world. Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
This spot's for you, you're trying. You keep the dream from dying. You're one of the crew that always comes through. You keep on glory flying. You make America work, and this spot's for you.
Budweiser salutes all the men and women in uniform who proudly serve this great country.
This spot's for you.
We get set for live auto racing at Atlanta International Raceway. The ARCA Permatex 300. Here is the starting lineup for today's race. On the front row will be Bill Venturini in car number 25. He's from Chicago, Illinois. Outside, Alan Kowicki, car number 35. In row number 2 will be Dave Simcoe, driving car number 54. And from Upton, Kentucky, in car number 92, Ralph Jones. In row number 3, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, Grant Adcox in car number 2, and from Dawsonville, Georgia, David Sosby, car 81. In the 4th row, Bob Breback in car number 34, and Kurt Bryant in number 12. The 5th row consists of Bill Ingram in car number 62 and Bob Shack in car number 75. Row number 6 will have Dave Fletcher in 01 and Tracy Leslie in 21. In row number 7, Bob Dodder in number 83 and series champion Lee Raymond in number 1. The 8th row will consist of Mark Gibson in car number 90 and Gary Hall in 98. Row number 9, number 70, Tom Usry, and number 04, Gary Newfer. The 10th row, Bobby Jacks in number 71 and Leroy Mabry in number 13. The 11th row, Bob Keselowski in car number 29 and Jim Ingalls in number 78. The 12th row, Keith Newbern in car number 17 and Howard Rose in number 56. The 13th row, Rick O'Brien in car number 10 and Jeep Flume in number 52. The 14th row, Bobby Waywack in number 11 and James Hilton in 48. The 15th row will consist of number 30, Steve Seligman, and 0, Scott Stovall. Row number 16, Philip Duffy in number 91 and Ronnie Adams in number 6. The 17th row, Rick Jeffrey in number 82 and Buddy Boys in 24. Row number 18, Connie Saylor in 31 and Don Marmer in 50. The 19th row, Terry Pearson in 43 and Patty Simcoe in 51. And in the final row, Roger Blackstock in number 42 and Bob Strait in number 80. And there's a story associated with that number 80 car.
Bob Strait in car number 80. This is actually one of Bobby Hillen's backup cars. This is a Stravola Brothers machine. He qualified 20th but was involved in a crash yesterday morning. Had to scrap his frontline car and picked up this ride overnight.
So Bob Strait will be starting in number 40 position. He's from Mokina, Illinois, and here comes the field out of turn number 4. The pace car is at the moment still on the racetrack. Now it dives to the inside toward the pit area, and we should get a green flag for this 198-lap race. The ARCA Permatex 300 underway. The green flag comes out. Into turn number 1 they go. Alan Kulwicki with about a half a car length lead as they went into turn number 1, but now as they come out of turn number 2 onto the backstretch, it's the pole sitter, Bill Venturini, who's opened up about a 2 or 3 car length advantage. Going in down to turn number 3, Kulwicki pulling up and making it about a half a car length. He may pull a move here in turn number 4. Let's watch him. That's Kulwicki in the yellow and black car. The leader, Bill Venturini, lap number 1 completed. Venturini is your leader.
Bob, let me tell you, when they went in turn 1, that was the most anxious moment for these ARCA drivers because they don't run these kind of speeds very often. They normally run quarter-mile, half-mile racetracks. Turn 1 at 150 miles an hour is crazy.
Pole-sitting qualifying speed here this afternoon was 168.115 miles an hour. That was a new record, breaking the previous record, which was set by Brett Bodine earlier.
Bob, also, we cannot oversell the significance of this race for the ARCA drivers. This is, and we've had an incident.
We have a spin in turn number 3. At least 2 cars are involved, sliding down the banking. Other cars may become involved. One goes to the inside there. A third car is involved. That's number 51 of Patty Simcoe.
Rick Jeffrey is also one of the 2 cars. The blue car there, the man who finished in the top 5 at Syracuse in the modified race earlier this year. Rick Jeffrey in the blue number 82. A very nice-looking machine, by the way. It's tough for anybody when you crash this early in the race, but I know that Rick and his crew have put a lot of work into really remodeling this car and making it super speedway worthy.
Well, I was watching over there in turn number 3, and I believe the number 82 of Jeffrey just got too low on the racetrack, started to spin, went to the inside, then up the banking, pinned the car up against the wall. I'm not sure who
I think that's Buddy Boys, the white car, Bob, and it might be Terry Pearson, the red and white car, number 43. I think that's who it is. And there's Patty Simcoe sliding into the picture and just barely getting Rick in the back with the rear end of her machine. So looks like it was Pearson again, one of the leading rookie contender. Patty Simcoe, Rick Jeffrey, and Buddy Boys, the 4 drivers involved. Now, yes, it's the same Buddy Boys whose son Trevor, of course, has run some ARCA races, and Buddy had a shot in Indianapolis about 4 years ago.
So we have a yellow flag coming out on lap number 2 because of an accident down in turn number 3. The safety crews are out there cleaning it up. While we have the opportunity, we'll take this break and be back right after this.
Of the week is brought to you by Pepto-Bismol. For most common stomach discomforts, the one that coats is the only one you need. Alabama hosted Penn State at Tuscaloosa, and the guests were anything but cordial. Nittany Lion tailback DJ Dozier ripped through the Crimson Tide defense on this 19-yard touchdown run. Penn State's defense picked off Mike Shula twice as Alabama saw its 13-game winning streak come to a screeching halt. Penn State hammers Alabama 23-3 and moves up in the polls. The Pepto-Bismol upset of the week.
Tonight, this place will be filled. People will be watching movies and not watching what they're eating. Pretty soon, it'll come back to haunt them.
My tummy hurts.
Mine too. That chili dog.
Don't worry, we've got Pepto at home.
Pepto-Bismol. As it coats, it soothes heartburn and upset stomach, as well as diarrhea.
I thought we left the monster back at the movies.
It's only me.
Pepto-Bismol. The one that coats is the only one you need.
Get that all-American feeling with live college football on ESPN. You're on campus with the sights and sounds surrounding the nation's #1 teams. Cheer with the best Saturday night and with exclusive Thursday night specials. Live college football on ESPN for that all-American feeling. Saturday, the powerful Nittany Lions of Penn State go after West Virginia. Live CFA football Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN.
We are at the ARCA Permatex 300 at Atlanta International Raceway, and it's all being brought to you by Dodge, a performance revolution and American revolution. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud for you. The yellow light remains on here at Atlanta International Raceway because of an accident involving 3 cars, including Patty Simcoe in car number 51 and Rick Dreffery. 5 laps have been completed, and the leader is Bill Venturini, followed by Alan Kowicki, then Dave Simcoe, followed by Grant Adcox and Ralph Jones. Those are your top 5 as the cleanup continues over in turn number 3. However, the safety crews are now being restationed, and we should be going green here before too long.
Benny, we started to talk about the significance of this race for these drivers. Here is the defending ARCA champion, not only the defending of 1985, but he is already the champ for 1986. When this group of cars comes to a super speedway, it's very important to them.
Well, it is important because they want this. They want some money in this organization. They want sponsors from, as they have from Permatex. They want to retain these big sponsors, and the way to do that is do well on big racetracks such as Atlanta, Daytona, and the other racetracks, the other big tracks that they run on.
And right behind Lee Raymond is the number 75 car, driven by Bob Shack from Lombard, Illinois, sponsored by Wealth Unlimited, a veteran of ARCA Racing.
A veteran of ARCA Racing and the leading winner among the active drivers. We saw him win a special invitational race, sound familiar, Benny, on ESPN last year at Pocono, and Shack seems to be the one in this group, along with Adcox, who has the most consistent high speed on these super speedway racetracks.
Well, right now, I think the fellow they're going to have to contend with is Alan Kowicki. Alan, a rookie this year on the Winston Cup circuit, but he now has about 25 races under his belt, so he ought to be the guy that has an advantage.
A report from the pit area from Jackaroot.
You're looking at the car that now will be driven by Jerry Churchill. Just moments ago, the car was brought here to the pits by Bobby Waywack, who started the car. They made the driver exchange. Then, just in front of them, car number 48 is now back into the pits as well. The 48 machine was started by James Hilton. But it seems that Kevin LePage out of Algonquin, Maine, had rented the car for this afternoon, and they decided to make the driver exchange during this early caution period. Gentlemen?
LePage pulled a long way from New England and did not make the race in his regular car that he came here to qualify, so he has jumped in the number 48 machine. We'll be back with more from Atlanta International Raceway, ARCA Racing on this Saturday afternoon. Stay with us.
All right, let me have your attention, guys. It's time for today.
This Bud's for all that you do.
Like many before, you came here asking for just one thing, a chance.
Sadowski. Shiboski. So what? It's pronounced Shiboski.
You're here to make a new start, but starting out's the hard part. Whatever the test, you give it your best. You'll show you got the heart, 'cause you make America work, and this Bud's for you.
Here's to you, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers.
Hey, Sid.
You make America work, and this Bud's for you.
Now be the driver you've always wanted to be. Be fast, be daring, be in control with Monogram Thunder. Lightning, the four-wheel drive Tornado. 3 radio-controlled racers that are ready to go right out of the box. Everything's included. All you do is fly at speeds up to 25 miles an hour. Power over the most demanding courses. Be the driver you've always wanted to be. Get Thunder, Lightning, Tornado, and coming soon, Mad Wolf from Monogram.
This liquid can help keep your engine running cool, prevent corrosion, keep it from boiling over or freezing up. What's in it? AluGuard. a premium quality antifreeze formula approved by all 4 major U.S. car makers. AluGuard, a formula you find in more than 70 brands of antifreeze, but not in Prestone. The label tells you it's car maker approved antifreeze. Antifreeze with AluGuard. Available now.
Well, live tonight here on ESPN, what should be an unbelievably good football game. It's 7:30 Eastern Time. Penn State, currently ranked number 3rd in the nation, against West Virginia. 7:30 tonight here on ESPN, CFA football.
Bob, we've also had another driver change. The other Henley Gray car, which Connie Saylor started, Bill Flowers, took the opportunity to get in that car during this long yellow flag.
Well, let's go down to Jack Arute, who has an observation on the Venturini and the Kulwicki cars currently running 1st and 2nd.
Well, as you know, gentlemen, it seems to be the norm now to field 2 or 3 cars out of the same shops. You're looking at Norman Negree right here, whose dad, Ed Negree, was a race driver himself on the Winston Cup Tour. Well, Norman operates a shop out of Concord, North Carolina, that has housed Alan Kulwicki's car all year, that number 35. But it's also been the place where the car that won the pole for today's race has been maintained in service for the last 2 years, that of Bill Venturini of Chicago, Illinois. Now, Negree is standing by in Venturini's pit and not in Kulwicki's. Tomorrow he will be in Kulwicki's pit. Why? Well, Venturini isn't in the show. Some mixed emotions behind me.
2 cars were knocked out of the race on that accident up in turn number 3. Terry Pearson, car number 43, out of the race, and so is Patty Simcoe, and number 51. At least their cars have been taken behind the wall. And we think that perhaps Simcoe might be able to get back in competition later, but Terry Pearson's car was pretty damaged as it came by here. It looks like we'll be going green next time around. We'll resume this race on lap number 10.
Bob, I think that Rick Jeffrey is also missing, the former owner of a chain of Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants down in the southern state of Kentucky. There is Grant Adcox, who has won 3 of the last 4 super speedway ARCA races. So everybody must be looking over their shoulders and looking in their rearview mirrors for that orange and white number 2 Grant Adcox.
Well, Grant was about 2 miles an hour under the pole-setting pace here this afternoon and started in 5th position.
Benny, talking a little bit about that race that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, the ARCA race, the last one that had 70 entries, the 1959 race at the State Fairgrounds in Detroit, Michigan. I know we're going to go green as we look at Dave Simcoe, but, you know, Ron Drager and I were trying to think of some of the names that might have been in that race. People like Iggy Katona, Jack Bowser, Les Snow, Ramo Stott, Nelson Stacy, Harold Smith, probably Bobby James, Dick Freeman, Jim Cushman, Jack Shanklin. Brings back a lot of memories.
Oh, how many memories. I raced against almost every one of those fellas.
The number 50 power car driven by Dave Simcoe was involved in an accident yesterday during practice, and they have done extensive work on that car to get it in shape to compete here this afternoon. Adcox and Simcoe go side by side down into turn number 1. Grant Adcox will move into 3rd position behind Kulwicki and the leader Venturini as Simcoe goes to the high side. There you see the cars filing through turn number 1 as we go back to green. Now they're off the 2nd corner and down the backstretch. Kulwicki looking to the inside of Venturini now in the 3rd and 4th turns. Let's see what happens here.
He better be real careful, Bob, because if he hits that car in front, he might get kicked out of his shop.
Kulwicki still following Bill Venturini down into turn number 1. Grant Adcox also hanging right in there in that 3rd position.
It's always hard to go against one of a series regular, and because of sentiment, Benny, I'm leaning toward having an ARCA guy win this race. But I must tell you, Kulwicki is going to the inside of Venturini. Alan Kulwicki there on the low side. This is the famous Sirloin. This is the tough car that has run most of the Winston Cup races this year for Alan, the front steermobile, and he's got a lead here after 12 laps of this race.
It was just about a half a car length, but Alan Kulwicki will be considered as the leader of that lap. Now he pulls ahead of Bill Venturini completely going into turn number 2. So we have a new leader. That's Alan Kulwicki from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, leading Bill Venturini and Grant Adcox down the backstretch once again.
Benny, I started to say the sentiment has to go with the series regulars, but a couple people asked me, well, who do you pick in this race? There are so many ARCA guys who are running up front, running well. I'm leaning toward Kulwicki. He has shown such a capability of finishing a race, and that with the superior speed vis-a-vis the majority of the rest of the field here in Atlanta, Atlanta today, ARCA. I'm leaning toward Kowicki.
I'm leaning toward Alan Kowicki to be a superstar in Winston Cup racing in 2 or 3 years, because he has been most impressive this year in his first year in competition.
Here's the number 75 car of Bob Shack coming into the pits for an unscheduled stop. His pit near turn number 1. The crew comes out. Looks like they're going to be changing the right rear on that machine, and Shack waits for the crew to go to work on it.
An early stop for this veteran of the ARCA Wars, and the man who is so good on the super fast racetrack. As you can see, he's 4th in the current ARCA Permatech standings. Brand new sponsor getting some exposure, but not exactly the kind they had in mind. And look up front, it's getting tight.
Venturini and Kowicki still running right together on the racetrack. Now Kowicki gets about a 2-car length advantage. There is Lee Raymond, the series champion, on the high side of Bob Breback as they go through corners number 3 and 4. And Breback moving his machine into 7th position.
Bobby Breback, who won for the first time in his career an ARCA race a little earlier this season, and also, by the way, is the relatively proud new papa of a baby girl. He and his wife waited a long time, and it was because of racing. Benny, you can relate to that. I mean, they were in their late 30s. They decided, well, let's go for it. If we don't do it now, it'll never happen. And Bobby's beaming about her.
Would be only fitting if he could win the race today, and he's running very well. Good move he made on Lee Raymond going in turn 3, just the last lap.
Here once again are the leaders as they come down to complete lap number 16. That's Alan Kowicki and Bill Venturini. Kowicki doing double duty here this weekend. He'll be in tomorrow's Winston Cup race that we'll televise live for you here at Atlanta International Raceway beginning at noon. Kowicki will be starting in 20th position tomorrow. Here's Jack Arute.
Here's the tire that came off of Bob Shack's automobile, and let me explain to you what they did. First, they looked all over the surface for any cuts because Shack thought he had a tire going down. The tires use inner liners, however, and what they did is they took an air pressure gauge and measured the inside air and the outside air. You know what they found out, Benny Parsons? It was equal. That's what they call having a tire equalized on a super speedway.
What happens is that the inside tire has to have more air than the outside tire to keep it sealed against the rim. When they equalize, as Jack Arute just mentioned, the inside tire flops around and the vibration is incredible. As I see Shack coming back down pit road once again, but an equalized tire means that the inside tire is shifting around the inside.
Well, while we watch the leaders here come through the 4th turn again, we'll go back in the pack and show you some good racing going on for about 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th positions. Among those in that battle, Bobby Jacks there in the blue and white car. They come down the straightaway. Right ahead of him is the number 01 car of Dave Pletcher.
And Bob Keselowski is also in there. Jacks, of course, right there in the center of your screen is the man who is equally at home on a short track, a super speedway, or even a dirt racetrack. He has won on ESPN on the half-mile dirt, the high-banked half-mile dirt at Eldora. He is certainly one of America's most versatile race drivers. You know, these guys don't get nearly as much attention as their big brother and sisters Winston Cup cars, but no division in racing currently active runs on a more diverse variety of racetracks than the ARCA drivers, and some of them are right there on your screen right now.
That's a great race right there. 3, 4 cars, look, 5 of them. Bumper to bumper going down in turn 1.
They're lapping Roger Blackstock in car number 42. That's a machine to the inside of the racetrack as the faster cars go high now to put a lap on him. Keselowski in that black car coming down. He's running in 15th spot.
There is Scott Stovall in the maroon gold numero 0. Scott is a former champion of ARCA. He only has 1 career main event, but his consistent top finishes this season a few years back made him the champ of this type of racing.
Dave Pletcher in car number 01 hails from Clearwater, Florida. That's the Larry Moyer sponsored machine. It's a 1986 Thunderbird. 20 laps, as you can see, have been completed, with the lead being held still by Alan Kowicki, with Bill Venturini running in 2nd spot and Graham Adcock still running in 3rd.
Bobby Jacks, the man from Huber Heights, Ohio. A few years back, I remember one of these broadcasts, Bob, I wowed you by saying that's the community with the world's largest number of brick homes. Remember that? The sign that adorns Interstate 70 as you go between Indianapolis and Columbus, Ohio, one that Benny Parsons himself passed many times back in his ARCA days in Dayton, Ohio.
Once again, the leaders. Now there is a little bit of racetrack between Kulwicki and Venturini, but Venturini certainly not letting Kulwicki get too far ahead. Grant Adcox is third. In fourth position is Dave Simcoe. Fifth is Ralph Jones. In sixth is Bob Freeback. And seventh is the number 81 car of David Sosby. Let's go to Jack once again.
You know, we've talked a lot in the early going about the fact that a lot of old Winston Cup cars compete here on the ARCA circuit. Well, one thing that we saw when Grant Adcox scored his victory at Talladega, Alabama, was a Winston Cup crew chief calling the shots. None other than Waddell Wilson. Well, Wilson is not in Grant Adcox's pit today, but he is in Atlanta, Georgia. He'll be part of a major press announcement this evening when they will unveil a special team for Hendrick Motorsports in 1987, crewed by none other than Waddell Wilson, driven by none other than Darrell Waldrop, and sponsored by Tide. I talked to Grant Adcox before the race. He said, "We miss Waddell. Wish he was here."
And we'll have more on that story tomorrow as we bring you that Winston Cup race live here on ESPN. They're the leaders once again. By the way, the number 82 car of Rick Jeffrey, involved in that accident down in turn number 3 on the second lap, has gone back into the race. Now we watch Venturini really close in on Kulwicki as Kulwicki tries to negotiate the slower traffic going into turns 1 and 2. He goes to the high side of the racetrack. And here is a race for position as Lee Raymond and Bill Ingram are going at it door handle to door handle out there.
Lee Raymond, the champion of ARCA, and Bill Ingram, a dirt tracker who has graduated to the Super Speedway High Banks. Ingram there on the low side in that blue and yellow number 62. Right now getting a bit of a leg up on the champ, Lee Raymond.
And that is for 8th position as Raymond now drops back a spot and watches Ingram take over that position.
Lee Raymond won this race a couple of years ago, Bob, in one of the most exciting finishes I think I've ever witnessed. He had about 3 flats. There was a caution flag with a couple of laps to go. He ran over the debris and finished the race on about 3 flats and won the race. But one of the most exciting, there we see Alan Kulwicki, the leader, as he comes off turn 2.
That's putting a lap on straight, so straight in that Stravola rental ride has been able to stay in it, but he certainly is not finding it as competitive as his frontline car was when he crashed. Remember, he was the 20th fastest qualifier in a field of almost 70 cars, so Bob Strait not having the kind of day that looked like he might have when he unloaded from the trailer on Thursday.
One of 2 live auto races for you this weekend here on ESPN. Tomorrow, Winston Cup racing from Atlanta. Today, ARCA Permatex activity. The top 10, we will be right back.
The new AmeriCorps XR4 TI, just $269 a month and no payment till January '87 at Don Kramer Lincoln Mercury. Its impeccable design and West German engineering make the XR4 truly a driver's car. The XR4 challenged BMW and Nissan and came out a winner in warranty, overall performance, and price, but the ultimate experience is the XR4 and you. Stop in and drive one today. So remember, the AmeriCorps XR4 TI, just $269 a month and no payment till January '87, Don Kramer Lincoln Mercury, corner of South Dixie and Dorothy Lane in Kettering.
Sugar Creek is getting ready for winter. Now through November 11th, special rates are available on passes and programs for students and adults. This season, Sugar Creek introduces its new skier program for adults, 18 and over, who have never skied before. You'll be placed in adult classes and ski with the same instructor each week throughout the season on a relaxed, non-competitive basis. $132 includes lessons, weekly skiing, and equipment. Call today for your information package. Sugar Creek Ski Hills, 848-6211.
Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, Larry Newber, and Jack Arud at Atlanta International Raceway on this Saturday afternoon for live stock car racing, the ARCA Permatex 300. Let's go to the pit area and Jack Arud.
Well, you know, on this Halloween weekend, Halloween, of course, yesterday, not a lot of activity yet in the pits, but it will be shortly. I thought I'd give you a look of what it's like to be in the pits here on a Saturday afternoon after Halloween.
Jack, you've never looked better, but you forgot your makeup earlier today. That's the way he looks normally, right?
That's what happens to an old pit announcer. You're down the pits and under the hot sun all summer long. Your face dries up.
Alan Kowicki, the leader, turned the last lap at 159.743 miles an hour. So he's about 9 miles an hour off the pace that he set during qualifying, but it's enough to stay ahead of Bill Venturini. As you can see, the advantage now, maybe 12, 15 car lengths for Kowicki. There they are racing down the backstretch.
Alan Kowicki is holding on. Venturini is really keeping pace, and the two of them have put some distance. They're about the distance up right this moment, the backstretch, in front of the third running Grant Adcox. And again, it's worth repeating that Grant Adcox has been the far superior driver on the super speedways.
There in the car 43, Terry Pearson going back on the racetrack. And guys, look at that. No front end sheet metal whatsoever. He's ripped everything away, but he's going back on the racetrack after some valuable points.
Well, Benny, he's right in it for the rookie championship. He is currently on top of the point standings, and he also got away with a win here in 1986. He won on a dirt racetrack, I believe. Let's see. No, it was not dirt. It was at Owasso, the Owasso, Michigan racetrack, as we go back up front and recheck the progress of Kowicki there, the leader in the black and yellow car, and Venturini in second. That Owasso racetrack is the racetrack which from time to time likes to claim the world's record. I guess it's for a 3/8 mile in a super modified. Paige Reynolds told that.
Are you talking about Owasso, Michigan?
Owasso, Michigan.
Oh, I've been there. Many, many years ago, probably about 20 years ago when I was there. You know, I don't understand Venturini and Kowicki. Alan, it looks like sometimes he's going to get away, and all of a sudden I look up, Venturini back on his bumper again.
Well, it looks like, Benny, that Venturini is in control of this situation. That's the feeling that I'm getting, is that Bill says, okay, Alan, you want to see what that machine has? I'm going to follow you for a while. I'm a little better than you are today, and I'm being patient and sit back here and watch what happens here the first third of this race.
This is only Alan Kowicki's second time in an ARCA car. He was at the 1984 ARCA race in Milwaukee, and I had a chance to question him about not running with these drivers. As far as the ARCA race is concerned, you do not compete against these guys very often. Might there be a problem of you not knowing what the other guy is going to do?
Well, not necessarily. You know, I think we have enough experience that we should be able to adjust pretty well. I think their top 6 or 8 guys will run pretty well, and those are the people you have to concern yourselves with the most. I think some of the guys in the middle of the pack are the ones that are going to be the most unpredictable, but hopefully we can get up front and have a good run and stay away from some of that stuff.
So far, no problems for Alan Kowicki as he's been able to maneuver through the slower cars and keep that lead over Venturini. But, Benny, as you pointed out just a few minutes ago, that lead is fluctuating. First, it's about 10, 15 car lengths, and like right now, it's only 1 or 2 car lengths.
And Alan Kowicki a little bit loose that time as he came off turn 4. Jack Perut has something from the pits.
Well, they're beginning to have reports of a few minor problems, Benny Parsons, and you know what it is. They're all saying they're beginning to show just a tad loose. So the crews have gone back to the tire piles, trying to check on the stagger and determine just what they'll do during the first pit stop.
All right, while the leaders now continue to run about that distance apart, we see a better race here between Dave Simcoe at car number 54 and Bob Breback in 34. This is for 4th spot.
Bob Breback has had a pretty good race. He started in 7th position. He's one of the more consistent racers on the ARCA trail, and he has taken his time. He's been moving through the field. He's been among the real quick ones trying to improve his position, starting from 7th, and right now he's putting it on Dave Simcoe, or at least trying to. Simcoe, the guy who had a 200-mile-per-hour qualifying run at a race earlier this year.
Well, Bob Breback has won this year on the ARCA circuit. He was victorious at a race in Lansing, Michigan earlier. Now moving to the inside, at least looking inside of Simcoe as they go down the backstretch. But for the moment, Breback content to stay back there in that 5th spot.
Benny, Dave Simcoe is the guy that we've seen run a number of times in the last 4 or 5 years. Here comes Breback, back to that in just a second. Breback's got him. Bobby Breback picks up one more position down the low side, going through 3 and 4 here at Atlanta.
It's like maybe Simcoe let Breback go by. He realized he was out running him, and he said, look, why should I hold him up? I'm not getting around the racetrack that well. I'll let him go. It looked that way going in turn 3.
Benny was going to make a comment about Simcoe there in the yellow car as we watched them whiz whiz by at about 170 miles an hour. He had some rocky roads in his earlier days in NASCAR Winston Cup racing, but I think 1986 has been a good season for him. It has seemed to come together.
It has come together for Simcoe. And I think that his sister's been good for him. She's been out there. He's been trying to teach her. And in the meantime, he's learning a great deal himself.
Again, the leaders, Alan Kulwicki in car number 35, and right behind him is Bill Venturini, the pole sitter for today's race. Still running in third spot is Grant Adcox, but he is about now a full straightaway behind the leaders. Adcox still in third. In fourth position is the number 54 car of Simcoe, and then Breback.
Benny, yesterday I talked to a lot of the top competitors about, hey, how about the number of pit stops? Probably 2. They were all playing kind of a shell game with me. I think everybody's kind of shrugging their shoulders and saying, yeah, I guess so. And so I asked the question, well, it's not possible to go this distance on one stop. They said, no, it's not possible. And everybody did say that if it comes down to a more than 2-car shootout at the end, they might all duck in for new tires.
Well, I think they will, because tires at this racetrack is the most dominant thing that you can have on this. It overcomes any chassis adjustment or anything else. New tires, really important at this racetrack.
We are watching cars 90 and 12. The 90 car driven by Mark Gibson and the 12 car driven by Kirk Bryant. They are currently running in 10th and 11th positions. We have just seen Alan Kulwicki and Bill Venturini lap Bobby Jackson, number 71. Jack's running 12th. There are 11 cars still on the lead lap.
Mark Gibson in that black and silver number 90 there, leading that duo around the 1.5-mile oval here, was third quick timer here in Atlanta in March. He was 5th fastest at Talladega. He's just a young racer. He's number 2, as a matter of fact, in the ARCA 1986 rookie standing. So you can see we're looking at somebody who is likely to be around for a long time. Mark Gibson, the Floridian, in the black and silver number 90.
That's the Precision Rebuilders 1985 Regal. Most of these cars are 1985 and 1986 cars. As a matter of fact, most are 86. The oldest car in the field, driven by Bob Daughter, is an 81 Le Mans, and there's also a number 82, a 1982 machine. There's Lee Raymond going to the inside, making a pass.
All these guys, as a matter of fact, are well up in the top 10. That is Ralph Jones there in the red number 92, moving up high. Apparently, Jones slowing down because he's just lost 3 spots inside the top 10 as first Raymond gets by, then the number 90 of Mark Gibson, and then number 12 of Kirk Bryant, a former winner himself here at Atlanta.
Ralph Jones has bigger problems right behind him. That's the leader, Alan Kulwicki and Bill Venturini. Jones needs to pick up the pace, otherwise he's going to be a lap down. And this early into the race, that's bad news.
Well, Jones is definitely off the pace. He was up in 5th, dropped to 7th, and now he is dropping back even further. So that number 92 car, driven by Ralph Jones from Upton, Kentucky, is definitely having some problems. He drops to the low side of the racetrack. We'll be watching to see if that car could possibly be making a pit stop here in the next few minutes.
Oh, there's Gibson sideways.
Sideways, coming off of the 4th corner, but he saved it in an attempt to catch Lee Raymond.
Lee Raymond, there you see him leading, looks like to be a quintet or a group of 6 cars. By the way, the leaders are just off camera to the right. The leaders are moving up potentially to lap these people. There's Kulwicki. You see him in the yellow and black car. Started to comment about Lee Raymond in that orange number 1. Don't let that fool you, because he's pretty crafty being able to finish well up in the standings in one of these long ARCA races. But Kulwicki, there on the left of your screen, and Venturini in the center going around the outside of Kirk Bryant are running so quick. I have a feeling, Benny, that the pace is much faster than most of the ARCA regulars expected.
Well, there's no doubt about it, and I tell you what, Norman McGree is getting, I'm sure he's very pleased today, because both these cars coming out of his shop. There we see Kulwicki putting the 90 car a lap down. Now he's right on the back bumper of Lee Raymond, the champion. Last year's champion, again this year's champion. Kulwicki passes him down the back straight, he's a lap down.
Alan Kulwicki and Bill Venturini are just making a shambles of this field as they are now lapping up in to position number 7. 6 cars now are on the lead lap.
Venturini's got to be thinking, gosh darn interloper, if he would have showed up, I had this race sewed up here in the first 30 laps.
Well, that's about the case, but nothing comes easy in automobile racing these days.
Close racing there between Alan Kulwicki and the number 6 car of Ronnie Adams as Kulwicki tried to make the pass and the lap. Back in a moment from Atlanta International Raceway.
the beginning of recorded history, man had an idea called a caravan. Slow and plodding, but right for its time. Some years later, man had a better idea. Dodge Caravan. Efficient, versatile, and perfect for its time. With front-wheel drive and a 550 protection plan, which is why Dodge Caravan has no equal in the civilized world. Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
I thought all dandruff shampoos were the same, but you can really feel the difference. On this side, there's a tingling sensation with Denorex shampoo and conditioner. Here, with Head and Shoulders, nothing. The tingle tells me Denorex is doing more.
Both have dandruff medicine, but Denorex adds both an extra anti-itch medicine and conditioner, too.
My hair looks great, feels terrific. Goodbye, Head and Shoulders. Hello, Denorex.
Denorex, dandruff shampoo that conditions, too.
Headlines come to life with Magic Years in Sports. Every Monday, yesteryear's major news stories and classic sports moments unfold on ESPN with original event footage, plus commentary from featured athletes. Get a first-hand look at the stars and scenes you've only read about. Relive the magic of 1954 when Roger Bannister made history by running the first sub-4-minute mile. Monday night at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
The 1954 Magic Year in Sports, Monday at 8 o'clock, but tomorrow at noon from Atlanta International Raceway, we'll have the Atlanta Journal 500. The final appearance for the Winston Cup cars in the Southeast this year. There is another race at Riverside, but we'll have the finale here in the Southeast, and it could decide the Winston Cup Championship as Dale Earnhardt goes for it. That's tomorrow at noon, live here on ESPN. We are currently watching the number 54 car of Dave Simcoe in the pit area. He was running in the top 10 when problems developed on that car. The lead continues to be held by Alan Kowicki, with Bill Venturini running in second position. Let's go to the pit area. Here's Jack.
You mentioned just a couple of moments ago about Ralph Jones and the fact that it looked like he was slowing down. Well, Jones is another that has some Winston Cup connections. That's a former Bill Elliott car, and a former Winston Cup crew chief, Buddy Parrott, is calling the shots. I checked with him, and he said, no, really what they've decided to do was to back out of the throttle because the traffic was so erratic in front of him. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's what Parrott said.
An interesting observation, as they apparently have decided to tell Ralph to back off a little bit and perhaps get the traffic sorted out in front of him and then make a run for it. But Bill Venturini is making a run for it at the moment. He's closed in within a car length now as they go into the third and fourth turns. This is first and second, Kowicki and Venturini.
Venturini running a little bit higher line on the racetrack. We can see him going around the corners just a little bit higher than Alan Kowicki. The last time when they went through turns 1 and 2, he tried that line. It propelled him off turn 2 like he was shot out of a cannon. Let's see if he tries it again. Now this time, Kowicki seems to get the advantage as they come off turn 2.
Also, put this into perspective. For Alan Kowicki, this is like a practice session, if you can believe that. We'll keep our eyes closely on this potential battle for first. But based on what we've seen so far, I'd be surprised if Venturini tries to pass before the first set of pit stops. But Kowicki, as you know, the money has been really tight for this team in Winston Cup racing. There are the first two of them up in the upper right-hand side of your screen. And so rather than spend $1,000 or $1,500 to rent a facility to conduct a test session, they wanted to run both this, the front steer car, and the other machine, which will run in the Winston Cup race tomorrow, a rear steer car, on the same track, under the same conditions, to find out which one felt better. So rather than rent a racetrack, they decided to run both these races this weekend, run good old Sirloin here on Saturday, and the newer rear steer car tomorrow on Sunday. So Alan Kowicki getting some real practice in under fire.
The leader, Alan Kowicki, second place, Bill Venturini. Then 9 seconds back of them in third position is Grant Adcock. Fourth is Bob Freeback. And fifth is Bill Ingram. In sixth position, a lap down, is Lee Raymond. Seventh is Mark Gibson. In eighth position is Kirk Bryant. Ninth is Ralph Jones. 10th, David Sosby. 11th, Bobby Jacks. 12th, number 21, Tracy Leslie. 13th, the car number 83, driven by Bob Donner, and in 14th position is Scott Stovall in number 0. Here's Jack again.
As you can see, the scoreboard behind me is clipping off the laps one by one around Atlanta International Raceway. And that's important as it applies to the first pit stop. Now remember, unusual for ARCA competitors to go as long as we have without an extended caution period. So we could be facing a green flag condition for pit stops. I checked with Norman Negri as to when Bill Venturini would pit. He said, we're looking at a window of 65 to 68. He said, but I know Alan will have to come in, Kowicki that is, much earlier than that because he drives a Ford. He said, look for Kowicki around lap 60.
And when Bill Venturini comes in for the pit stop, it's interesting because his pit crew is all female. There you can see the average speed, 130 miles an hour, as we watch now the number 21 car and Lee Raymond. That's Leslie in number 21 and Raymond in 01.
Well, that's Dave Pletcher, Bob. They started side by side when this race started. Pletcher, the racer from Clearwater, Florida, he's been a champion down there in his local area, and he's tried to make the move up here to ARCA Racing. And the two of them, as we mentioned, they started side by side on the grid, both of them turning in very good qualifying runs, 9th and 10th fastest, and they're still together. Here we are 56 laps in.
One of our spotters just a moment ago said that the 21 car might have a little bit of smoke coming out of the automobile. I don't see anything yet.
Of course, the 21 car, those of you who follow Winston Cup racing, recognize the colors. Yes, those are the same colors as Ellen Ray, the cars that Dave Marcus and Phil Bartol have been running throughout the 1986 season, and this is yet another one of the Winston Cup runner racers for this race for the ARCA competitors.
And there were a number of them that started in this race today. And there isn't much modification that has to be done to a Winston Cup car in order for it to compete here in this division. 58 laps have been completed. This is a 198-lap race, 300 miles on the 1.522 Super Speedway Oval here at Atlanta International Raceway.
The pit stops are already beginning, I see. As we watch the 21 car go around the racetrack, I see Lee Raymond there. Is Lee Raymond on the racetrack, changing the right sides? Brand new tires going on.
And right behind him in the pit area is the number 90 car of Mark Gibson. Tires being changed on the right side of that Raymond car as we go back out onto the track and focus in once again on that first and second position. Seems like every time they get down the backstretch, Bill Venturini can close in on Kowicki, but then when they get in the corners, Kowicki can pull away from Venturini just a little bit.
I would imagine if they get out of the pits together after this first round pit stops, and as Jack told you, we expect Ellen to come in first. If they come out of the pits together, Venturini might test the waters out of that. What do you think, Benny? I still believe that he is in control of his own destiny, at least right now. He's following around, but they come out in the second session. If he's got a good set of tires, he may take a run at Allen at that time.
I think you're exactly right, and he does look like he has control of the situation, but we don't know what Alan Kowicki's holding. He may be holding a pretty bad hand himself.
As we watch the action on the racetrack, we can tell you that Bobby Jacks is into the pit area. The speeds that these guys are running today, well, they're not accustomed to that. I talked to Bill Venturini.
Bill, you're the pole sitter here in Atlanta this weekend. Let's first of all review your season in ARCA to date.
Well, it's an up and down season. I've been the fastest I've ever been in racing, but I've also dropped out of the most races. So, last race I won was here in March in Atlanta.
Comments from Bill Venturini as he follows Alan Kowicki on the high side of turns number 3 and 4, lapping some of the slower traffic. There you can see 6 career ARCA wins for Bill Venturini, looking for number 7 here this afternoon.
Venturini is currently ranked 6th in the point standings. He has had 2 pole positions this year, in addition to that 1 win here at Atlanta. He also was involved in a crash at this race track a year ago, the ARCA race here last November, and talking about the speed, he's commented about he's been faster this year than ever before. He was also second quick at Daytona on the super high banks. There is Kowicki moving in on Bill Ingram. This is one of those midfield drivers that Kowicki was talking about. He was pretty used to and knew what to expect from a lot of the frontline racers, but the guys in the middle of the pack, who are working really hard to show improvement were the ones that he wasn't as familiar with. As you can see, Venturini taking his time, going around the outside of Ingram, giving him a lot of room, and both of them passed by without incident.
And that is the 5th place running car of Ingram, so now only 4 cars remain on the lead lap as Kowicki's pit crew stands in readiness for Allen to come in for his first scheduled stop of the race. But it will not be this lap as he stays on the accelerator and comes off the 4th turn.
It looks like that Allen has done lied to Norman Degree because he just completed his 64th lap. He's still on the racetrack.
Very interesting note, Benny, that he has gone that far, and it may fall right in line with what you were intimating before our last segment there, that maybe Kowicki hasn't shown everything. Now he's
out of fuel. He's out of fuel. Kowicki is out of fuel.
Oh. Well, it comes as the car goes into the 3rd turn, and he may have enough momentum build up to carry him into his pit area. He drops low on the racetrack, gets off the banking, and comes in, but I'm sure that Allen has made a miscalculation here, or someone has. Now he is coming in for the stop, and here is Jackaroo to call it for you.
And the engine has stopped. It's dead. They put the first can of fuel to the car. They go to the outside to change right side rubber initially. Now they're trying to refire the engine, trying to get it going again. Allen Kowicki running it awfully close to the vest, and it may have been too far. They made the exchange on the right sides. Let's see if they're going to go around. No, they're only going to give him right side tires. He's off and away in 19.3.
Not a bad pit stop when you consider that these crews are not really accustomed to changing tires and putting fuel in, so not an all-bad pit stop for Allen Kowicki as he gets back in the race, but he's a lap down. There's the leader, Venturini, on the backstretch.
Well, who lied to who, Benny, or who thought they were lying to whom? I'll tell you, we've seen it in Formula One. They have that computer that tells them.
You know, and another thing is that we got to think about, I'm watching Kowicki, the reason I'm hesitating because he didn't seem like he got up to speed as he went down the back straightaway. But Allen Kowicki maybe was trying to find out just exactly how far he could run for tomorrow's race, the Atlanta Journal 500.
You talked about the fact that it was a fairly decent stop on pit road. 19.3 is very respectable. But what was so costly to him, gentlemen, was the way he came into the pits. It took so bloody long, it was almost as if he had a 30-second pit stop under normal conditions.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good thing that the car didn't die on him, though, say, coming across the start-finish line or down in turn number 1. It would have been even more costly, but it occurred just about the end of the backstretch. And there's the all-female pit crew of Bill Venturini waiting on their driver to come in for his stop. And we look toward the first turn, and Venturini still on the accelerator and showing no sign of making a pit stop.
Well, that'll be the next big moment in this race when Venturini does come in, how well that pit crew performs. The pressure should be off. They should be saying to each other right now, okay, we've got a lot of cushion. Venturini looks like he's slowing down. He's coming in this time around. Has he slowed down too much, Benny? Is that too sudden?
Yeah, it looks like he has slowed down. Maybe he's out of fuel as well because he was off the pace dramatically going into it.
It's even slower than Kowicki. He is coming in very slowly, now picks up a little bit of momentum. Here's Jackaroo once again to call the pit stop by Bill Venturini.
He finally gains enough speed to come to pit road to the service of his crew. An all-female crew, and it is no publicity stunt. They can get the job done just as well as their male counterparts. The first tank of fuel is going in while they change right side rubber. The crew being overseen by Norman Degree, as we said, but Venturini has already clipped away 15-plus seconds. Now it's 17 seconds. Let's see how they compare. They drop the jack. They have 1:23.3. A little bit slower, but still respectable for the all-girl crew.
And I got to tell you, those tires are heavy, and those cans of fuel are heavy.
You know, we're talking about, on a can of fuel, we're talking about 11 gallons at 7 pounds per gallon. We're talking about 80 pounds.
That's right.
With a can and all. And my hat's off to those girls to be able to pit like they are.
Meantime, Allen Kowicki did get by. Kowicki has a little more than a straightaway advantage over Venturini. Venturini getting up to speed very slowly, just like Kowicki. Benny, I was watching Venturini going down the backstretch. He's now back up to speed, but he has lost significant ground to Allen Kowicki.
So it's Kowicki back in the lead now, as the first series of pit stops have been completed and the race settling down once again. We hope you're enjoying our live telecast from Atlanta International Raceway, the ARCA Permatex 300.
Personal Best, brought to you by the U.S. Army, a place to be all you can be. Susan Haratunian, a beginner in the sport of fencing, but an athlete with a very promising future in that sport. And Susan knows success means complete concentration on the way to achieving her personal best.
After a while, you get into it and you have to show feeling, or you won't be able to fence because you need reactions. When someone comes to hit you, you want to defend yourself. You can't stand there. You can't freeze up.
Do you have anything in aviation?
The Army's most technical training
Are there any openings in communications?
is also the Army's most popular training.
I'd really like computers.
So it pays to have a reservation.
Electronics.
If you qualify, you can get a guaranteed reservation for the training you want up to 12 months in advance, even if you're still in high school.
We'll see you after graduation.
Find your future in the army.
Congratulations.
Everyone knows just how
We are at Atlanta International Raceway on this Saturday afternoon for ARCA Stock Car Racing, and we have completed 72 out of 198 laps. The top 3 at this moment are on the same lap. The leader is Alan Kulwicki. Phil Venturini is running second, and the number 2 car of Brent Adcox is third. A lap down in 4th position is Bob Freeback, and a lap down in 5th is the number 62 machine of Bill Ingram. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
I'm standing here in Bill Venturini's pits, and this is Della Villars. Now, the job for Della is to carry this tire over that wall all the way around and actually help the tire be put on the outside. Della, how much do you weigh?
105.
And these tires, as you know, have got to weigh at least 70 pounds. You should have seen the way she hefted this up over the wall. I'm not going to mess with this little lady.
Well, my hat's off to those gals who did a tremendous job at getting Bill in and out of the pits in about 23 seconds. They've got another chance to do it later on in the race, but I'll tell you what, they look good on that first stop.
There we see the 6 car in the pits, changing the right side. Driver gets a drink of water, putting fuel in it.
Another one of the NASCAR rental cars, Benny. This is Ronnie Adams in the car number 6. This is DK's car. Ronnie is from Denver, North Carolina, a hometown that's near and dear to your mind, I know.
That's right. That's where my race car is housed, in Denver, North Carolina.
That's where Bill was listed as his home from, too, is it not?
He lives on the lake there, just out of Denver. Exactly right.
There's the leader, Alan Kulwicki, and while we're talking about you and Phil, Benny, we have a chance now to mention the arrangement that you have next year on the Winston Cup Trail. It's kind of different than this year.
It is kind of different. I don't think anyone's ever tried it before, but we're going to run the 55 car, the Copenhagen car, all year. We're going to run all 29 events next year on the Winston Cup Trail in the 55 car. And I will drive some of the races, and Phil will drive some of the races. We're not going to have the 66 car and the 55 car at all the races. We will run both cars in Daytona and Charlotte, but basically the 55 car is going to run all year.
But you're not going to divide it necessarily between short track and super speedway, correct?
That's correct. I plan on running Richmond, North Wilkesboro, Riverside, Atlanta, and the other racetracks we will share. He'll run one, I'll run one.
All right, on the racetrack, we're watching Mark Gibson in number 90 and Lee Raymond in number 1, and these guys have been running together just about all race long, and even after their first series of pit stops, they come out right together on the racetrack.
7th and 8th position. Mark Gibson right there, black and silver number 90, and the man from Dayton, Ohio, Lee Raymond. He helps run a radiator repair shop with his father, Joe, in Dayton, Ohio. Joe is a former ARCA winner himself, and Lee started driving about 1976, 1977 at the old Dayton Speedway, the last time that a few of us tried to pump some life into the place. And by the way, Dayton Speedway is now filled in. It's now a landfill and no longer forever will be a racetrack.
That 29 car that we see behind the leader, Alan Kulwicki, that's Bob Keselowski from Detroit, Michigan. I used to race against his dad and his brother in Mount Clemens in 1963 and 4. And a while ago when Alan Kulwicki made his pit stop, he came on the racetrack right in front of Keselowski. And Bob has stayed there Ever since that pit stop, the car running extremely well. He had an unscheduled pit stop early on. Otherwise, that car would be one to be reckoned with today.
As a matter of fact, I thought he was going to pass Kulwicki there on the backstretch last lap ago, but he didn't. But as you indicated, he is staying right on Kulwicki's bumper. In fact, maybe traveling a little bit as they go down the back chute at about 170 miles an hour.
As we watch Keselowski, Benny, and reflect back on some of your days in racing, it's appropriate to mention some of the champions of ARCA back in the days of MARC, or Mark, as John Markham called it, the late John Markham, whose widow Mildred is still very much involved in this. Iggy Katona, anybody remember him? 6 times he was ARCA champion, and I remember Iggy winning a race at Daytona. If I'm not mistaken, it was at the age of 60 on the high banks at Daytona in those days, probably speeds up in the vicinity of 175, 180 miles an hour. Nelson Stacy from Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati has turned out a lot of good racers for ARCA racing. He was a 3-time champion. Jack Bowser was a 3-time champ, along with Ron Hutcherson, who himself has remained very active in automobile racing. Bobby Dotter, who was in today's field, was a champion in 1980, 83, and 84. He also a 3-time champ, although he has not been that much of a factor in recent years. And among the 2-time champions, Ramo Stott, Dave Dayton, Marvin Smith, and some fellow by the name of Parsons, listing his home in the Detroit area these days.
Yeah, 1968, 1969. You know, I was thinking last night when we started, as we watched Alan Kulwicki, the leader of the race, that's Bob Keselowski, the black 29 car right behind him.
And the number 30 car is spun. That Dave Seligman from Chicago, Illinois. He's down on the inside of the racetrack. We'll watch to see whether or not a yellow comes out. I don't believe it's going to. He is still under power going down the backstretch, but very slowly.
I was thinking last night about ARCA and Mark. And, you know, we ought to tell some fans what we're talking about when we say ARCA and Mark. Mark is what this division used to be called. That was the Midwest Association for Race Cars. And then when these cars started going to Daytona, they said, well, you know, we ought to give it a more national name. So they call it the Automobile Racing Club of America. And for you folks who tomorrow there's going to be a race here, it's a NASCAR race. What NASCAR stands for is the National Association for Stock Car Automobile Racing.
And Benny, the roots of Mark, or John Markham, whom we mentioned a few moments ago, go way back to around 1951, 1952 in the Toledo, Ohio area. As you can see, the average speed is about 137.5 miles an hour after 80 laps for Alan Kulwicki. John Markham decided he wanted to be a race promoter after scaring himself to death almost driving a race car. And in 51, he got together with a fellow by the name of Joe Stelter, and they actually were the people who were the founders of the Fremont Speedway, which is still in operation up in northwestern Ohio these days. Joe wanted to stay locally. Markham wanted to do something on a national level, so he got together with Bill France and said, look, I've got this thing going in the south called stock car racing. Why don't you put together something in the north, and maybe we can waltz together. John did so, calling his division New Car Racing, and a lot of the cars in the early days were taken right off the showroom as you put masking tape over the headlights, as well as some of the windows that you wanted to block up, and you put the car on a mild dirt track, probably designed for horses, and you go racing. That's how this type of racing began. This is a long way from like the 1-mile dirt track in Fort Miami Speedway in Maumee, Ohio, where, as a matter of fact, they had a few big midget races also back in the early 50s.
Look at Keselowski.
Oh, and they're spinning.
They touch. Keselowski just touched him.
He's spinning down the backstretch. Kulwicki may get it straight down here and not lose a position. He was 12 seconds ahead. Now the car is going to stall on him.
Oh.
The right front tire's gone and the car won't move.
And I think the left rear tire is down also. What an unbelievable turn of events. It didn't look like Keselowski had touched him very severely, but just enough. It almost looked like the draft was upset. He was running so close to Alan.
You can see him trying to get the car moving again. The back tire is spinning, but the car just unable to move. I was about to tell you that he was 12 seconds ahead of Venturini when he and Keselowski touched in turn number 2, and Kulwicki spins down the backstretch. Here it is again.
Watch it close, Benny. I don't know if he ever hits him, really.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they touched.
Yeah,
I think they touched right there just enough. And let me tell you, I touched Buddy Baker there one time and did the same exact thing to Baker coming off that corner years ago. And it doesn't take much, fellas. Just one little tap, and that's the result.
And Keselowski has to feel really bad about this because although he was staying right up with Alan Kulwicki, he was not on the same lap and was not fighting for the position, and he essentially knocks Alan out of competition here.
Boy, I'll tell you, what a deflating moment, because Alan Kulwicki, who has struggled so hard all year long to do well in the Winston Cup racing, and all of you are aware that he's been reasonably successful. Looks like he will be the Rookie of the Year in NASCAR. Probably was hungry for a win. This guy is used to winning 2 or 3 times a year, and today looked like was going to be his day in such a minor incident, and now he's out of there.
So our second caution period of the race. The first caused on lap number 2 when we had a 3-car crash, and now Alan Kulwicki spins down the backstretch. Now ESPN and ARCA present a track fact. Hundreds and thousands of dollars are spent each year by Winston Cup teams to get their cars to and from racetracks. Not so with the ARCA teams. Now, although the cars that compete in both series are very similar, and some drivers sometimes compete in both series, the way the ARCA teams get their cars to the track, well, not quite as much money spent. Here's the old cube van that's used by many of the ARCA teams to get their cars to and from short track races. Then you have the old standard flatbed that's been used for many, many years to haul cars to and from racetracks. And then there's this unique operation. Bernie Robidart uses an old school bus to get his car to and from ARCA races. Pit stops are occurring under yellow. Here's the leader, Bill Venturini, in once again. They're going to fuel the car, but I don't believe they're going to change any tires as the female pit crew remains behind the wall.
They have had a problem. They've dropped the net, and Norman Negre has gone to work, and it looks as if they may have changed the fuel flow meter. I'm going to grab Norman very quickly. Norman, what was the problem that you had to go inside the car?
He's got a head brace, and it broke, and his head's going over. He can't hold his head up.
So here you've got it. Problems with Venturini, your leader, after your other leader spun on the backstretch. Gentlemen?
Well, Benny, you could, I'm sure, relate to that. How would that affect a car going at 170 miles an hour on these high banks?
Well, I mean, with the driver?
The driver, yeah.
Yeah. This racetrack, in the turns at this speedway, is 1/2 mile long. The racetrack altogether, 1.5 miles. The turns are each are 1/2 mile long. And it seems like you're in that turn forever. And when your neck gives out, your head flops over, you really can't drive the car because you can't put it in the line that you want it to put in because all you're worried about is trying to hold your head up.
So we'll see whether or not Bill Venturini is affected by that problem that has occurred here as the leader, Alan Kulwicki, spins, and now a problem possibly with Venturini's car. Back in Atlanta after this.
This America's Cup update is brought to you by The Atlantic. We can make a difference. In the race against Britain's White Crusader, Tom Blackhauler's Radical USA, the boat from San Francisco with the forward rudder, encountered some steering problems, and it cost Blackhauler and his crew the race.
In our race against Crusader, on the first tack, one of our hydraulic hoses blew up, and I guess it'd be a little bit like an airplane blowing a landing flap. You know, right as they're landing, one of the flaps blows out.
Why sit in the doldrums when you can ride the crest?
The Atlantic difference.
Get the Atlantic difference. 8% on your money market, guaranteed for 2 months. Call 1-800-4-ATLANTIC and make more money with Atlantic's money market. 8% guaranteed for 2 months. Call the Atlantic coast to coast for an 8% money market. The Atlantic, member FSLIC.
When people work, chances are they're wearing Dickies. It's the best-selling work set in America. And if you need coveralls, overalls, work gloves, socks, or shirts, footwear, headgear, underwear, or outerwear, they all have Dickies horseshoe label. Dickies are America's favorite work clothes. But who says you have to work in them? Dickies, made with Celanese Fortrell polyester.
No matter how Dodge makes it look, winning ain't easy.
Off the road, the land is mean. The ultimate test of man and machine. So we take on the dust, we take on the heat. Just trying to prove that Dodge can't be beat. And if winning was easy, why run the race? Can't be number one if you don't set the pace. At Dodge we know there's only one first place. If winning was easy, it wouldn't be a race.
Dodge Truck. We set the pace.
We're still under caution here at Atlanta International Raceway after Ron Kieslowski and your leader in number 35, Alan Kowicki, came together. But a guy that's raced against Kowicki and will do so tomorrow from the outside pole position, an infrequent Winston Cup competitor, Mark Martin. Mark, were you surprised at how well you qualified down here?
Well, Jackie, we really were. We knew the car was running well, but we hadn't had a chance to really find out what it would do until qualifying. And we were just thrilled to death with our run. And I'm happy for the guys. You know, they put a lot of effort into it. We've really got some good equipment, a good engine, and a good car, and we have high hopes for tomorrow.
Now, you know as well as I do that if you're not a regular on the Winston Cup Tour and you start up front, they have a tendency to root you out of the way, to intimidate you, especially in the early going. What's that going to do to Mark Martin tomorrow?
Well, you know, if the car's running good, I plan to be tough. If it's not, then I'm in the way anyway. So, you know, we're working on the combination that'll work in the race. We hit a good combination for qualifying. If we can hit a combination that works like that in the race, then we won't have to worry with anybody rooting us out of the way.
Well, if his driving is as good as his sartorial splendor this afternoon, he ought to be a contender in tomorrow's race. Right out of Miami Vice, Mark. Terrific. Back to you guys.
Mark Martin will start outside the front row tomorrow. Bill Elliott, of course, has the pole with a new track record. Another somewhat surprise in tomorrow's lineup will be Jeff Swindell. The very first time he's competed in the Winston Cup division. He will start 11th in the Dyguard Chevy. They continue to work on getting Alan Kowicki's car off the racetrack. 90 laps completed in this 198-lap race at Atlanta.
Want to save a lot of money on a car? Come to Don Kramer.
You want it, you got it.
Savings. That's what you're going to get when you come to Don Kramer Lincoln Mercury.
Because saving you money is the one thing that Don Kramer does better than anyone else. Discover Don Kramer's exciting small car division with a great selection of colors and styles and super low prices.
You want it, you got it.
Yes, you got it. The best deals. Don Kramer Lincoln Mercury Mercour.
You got it.
Your pain can be a frightening mask that hides the real you, even from yourself. But doctors of osteopathic medicine, or DOs, are trained to look beneath that mask of pain to see the whole person. And that's why DOs care for all of you, not just your symptoms. Learn more and get this life-saving emergency handbook by calling 224-HELP from Grandview and Southview Hospitals, your DO hospitals, where we treat people, not just symptoms.
Sunday on ESPN, the chase for the NASCAR Driving Championship may end in Georgia. Only hard-charging Darrell Waltrip has a chance to stop leader Dale Earnhardt from capturing his second title. The Atlanta Journal 500, live Sunday at noon Eastern, only on ESPN.
Yes, it could all be decided tomorrow. The Winston Cup could go to Dale Earnhardt. We hope you'll be with us at 12 noon live here on ESPN for the Atlanta Journal 500, next to the last Winston Cup race of the season and the last race in the Southeast. Let's try to contact Bill Venturini by radio to see how his race is going.
Well, Bob, they're still taking Alan Kowicki's car off the speedway. Alan being on the back of a flatbed as the field goes around under 3 and 4. Talk to Bill Venturini. Bill, this is Larry Newber. Benny and I were speculating, Bill, were you holding back when you were following Alan before the first pit stops?
I could have tried to get by him, but I didn't want to upset the car, so we were just kind of staying right where we're at.
Why did you come in so slowly when you came in for your planned pit stop?
Talk to you later.
All right, we are about to go back green, and of course Bill wants to concentrate to make sure that everything is working in the car and make sure that he is in the right position for this restart. Jack in the pits?
Just a little aside, you know, Bill Venturini is of Italian heritage, and he's also driving and leading this race. When I took a look at the race car before the start of the event, you know who one of his major sponsors was on the back of the car? A concrete company. I don't know. Italians in concrete. You always kind of wonder.
Oh, no. No. What that means is
no,
that...
it's okay. I'm Italian, too.
What that means is that his fate is etched in stone. You know, it's solid.
Yeah, but why is it on the backside so all the other drivers can see it? You know, the old, staff car keeping you hands off?
Yeah.
I understand. Well, now we're going to see whether Grant Adcox can give Venturini some competition here. That's Adcox back there in the second position, and we're about to go green.
Bob Breback, you see there, third in line. He has got his lap back. Bob Breback is third in the race and on the same lap as the leaders.
And here we go. The green flag comes back out. The ARCA Permatex 300 resumes from Atlanta International Raceway.
Now, who you have up front in first and second are the two most successful drivers on super speedways as well as at Atlanta here in ARCA in the last year. To put into perspective, Adcox, right now running in second position, has won 3 of the last 4 super speedway races. Both 2 at Talladega and Daytona. He has swept the 2.5-mile racetracks. He goes to the inside of Venturini, who won here at Atlanta in March. And Adcox is going to take the lead for the first time today.
It will occur on lap number 95. Grant Adcox grabs the lead away from Bill Venturini. Now Venturini's car is way high, going into 1 and 2. The car just a little bit loose, and Venturini brings it down and settles about 3 car lengths back into second spot.
Benny, we might talk a little bit about how can Adcox, who spent the first 90 laps of this race being buried by Venturini and Kawicki, suddenly be as fast or maybe faster than Bill Venturini?
Because he changed tires. And as I told you earlier on in the broadcast, that is the single most important thing in getting around this racetrack, is the tires that you have on the automobile. Right now, if Adcox were to have a perfect set of tires, Venturini, what we call a bad set of tires, or a mismatched set of tires, Adcox could lap him before 100 miles or so.
And once again, when we say bad set of tires, we don't mean they came from the factory being lopsided. What that means is we're trying to establish what is known as stagger. A little larger size tires on the outside than on the inside. And for any given car, given its horsepower, given its setup, giving its suspension, giving its weight, there's just that perfect set. And there's trouble in the front stretch. David Sosby, Bill Ingram coming together, coming right down the front stretch. They're battling for position just as we went to them. They come together, coming down the front straightaway.
And we have a third car that is close to being involved. I don't think he completely got involved, but as he came down the straightaway, his view was obliterated by smoke, but somehow I think he managed to miss the 2 cars that had collided here on the main straightaway.
David Sosby, there you see him in the red and gray number 81. His father, Gober, is a former feature winner, main event winner in ARCA. He's, the name Sosby is almost a legend around here, and David has done well on the super speedway races that he's entered in for ARCA.
Let's take a look at the replay. It occurred as the cars came off the 4th turn down the straightaway.
What happened was Sosby did not realize that the Pearson automobile was on the outside of him. He comes up the racetrack, pinned Pearson against the outside retaining wall, who in turn hit the Sosby car in the...
Well, Lee Raymond was on the low side of the racetrack, and Sosby was kind of the meat in the sandwich, so to speak.
Well, that is Bill Ingram right there, Benny, in that yellow and blue number 62 car, and I think that Ingram, watch his left front. He starts to dart in here and tries to get between the wall, his left front tries to get between the wall, and that is Sosby. Yep, Sosby moves up on him.
Well, that's right. Sosby had no idea he was there. He comes up the racetrack, touches him in the right rear, the car goes head on in the wall. And now there's so much smoke, as Bob mentioned a moment ago, there was a car coming in there and all that smoke, had no idea. Look at him. He goes up, that might be Ralph Jones up there.
Yeah, it could be. It did look like him. It's still difficult to see who exactly it was.
And there he almost hits the wall head on after getting through the smoke.
Nice job of driving by, we believe, Ralph Jones in avoiding that melee that had broken out in front of him going into turn number 1. Well, there's the wrecker behind the car of Bill Ingram, number 62, as we have reached the halfway point of this event. 99 laps have been completed out of 198 that will make up this ARCA Permatex 300. This is the 3rd yellow flag of the race. We went so long there without a yellow flag, and now we've had 2 in the last few laps. Kawicki spins down the backstretch in this 2-car collision here on the main straightaway. We'll be right back.
No
matter how Dodge makes it look, winning ain't easy.
Off the road, the land is mean. The ultimate test of man and machine. So we take on the dust, we take on the heat. Just trying to prove that Dodge can't be beat. And if winning was easy, why run the race? Can't be number one if you don't set the pace. At Dodge we know there's only one first place. If winning was easy, it wouldn't be a race.
Dodge Truck. We set the pace.
Racing from the inside. No one covers it like Auto Week. Auto Week makes you an insider at the world's great races every week. In the pits, behind the scenes, in the cockpit, with columnists who race and win. Inside coverage of Formula cars, stockers, sports cars, just days after the race. Auto Week puts you inside the world's most exciting cars every week. Right behind the wheel, inside the whole automotive scene. Personalities, cars of the past, industry news. Let Auto Week make you an insider, too. Call 1-800-554-3000 to get Auto Week at the lowest price ever. Just $17.25 for 52 issues, only 33 cents a week. Save 25% off the basic rate. Get Auto Week today. Call 1-800-554-3000. Operators are standing by. Let Auto Week make you an insider.
Your nearby CarQuest Auto Parts store isn't owned by some big corporation. It's owned by one of your neighbors who really cares about you. As trained, CarQuest qualified counter pros, we're here to make sure you get the right part at the right price. Even the right advice. There's over 2,000 stores like this one across the country with a whole world of parts backed up by the CarQuest coast-to-coast guarantee. CarQuest, America's auto parts giant. Because real value and friendly professional help make CarQuest the right place to buy auto parts.
We are back at Atlanta International Raceway for the ARCA Permatex 300 on this Saturday afternoon. Tomorrow, Winston Cup Racing, the Atlanta Journal 500 from right here at this same racetrack. Mid-race recap, 99 laps complete. Grant Adcock's the leader. We have had 4 lead changes, 3 caution periods for a total of 15 laps. And Alan Kowicki has led the most laps, 72. Now, those drivers that are out of the race. Patty Simcoe involved in a second lap accident. Philip Duffy is out. So is Dave Simcoe, Tom Ussery, Tracy Leslie, and Bill Ingram. Also, Leroy Mabry, Rick Jeffrey, Roger Blackstock, Bob Strait, Alan Kowicki, and David Sosby. All of those drivers out of the competition. Here are the top 5, now with 101 laps completed. Grant Adcock's the leader, Bill Venturini running second, followed by Bob Freeback, Lee Raymond, and Mark Gibson. We're still under caution, and we will be back with more live auto racing after this.
When furniture has layers of ugly paint remover. But for old varnish, use Formby's Furniture Refinisher. An independent lab proved my paint remover is more powerful than other well-known brands, yet it won't raise the grain. Formby's Furniture Refinisher uses my special method to dissolve the ruined finish and reveal the wood's hidden beauty. So for paint, Formby's Paint Remover. And for varnish, Formby's Furniture Refinisher. For great results and guaranteed satisfaction, remember, there's only one Homer Formby.
If you own a house, you gotta own a shop vac. This baby's got the power to pick up almost anything.
Got broken glass, nails, or wood chips? Shop vac gobbles up stuff that would kill an ordinary vacuum. And a shop vac wet dry can even vacuum water like a flooded basement. The washing machine is flooding the house.
No.
Every house needs a shop vac. Starting at under $50, a shop vac is heavy duty, not heavy money. And remember, if it doesn't say shop vac, keep shopping.
Back at Atlanta, where the yellow flag remains out. However, we expect a green flag next time around. The average speed at the halfway point, 124.128 miles an hour. And there you can see the statistics regarding the ARCA season. 15 races, 12 different winners. 6 are on super speedways and 10 on the short tracks. Now, Grant Adcock has the most wins in ARCA racing this year, 3. Dean Roper has won twice. both of them on the dirt at Springfield and DuQuoin, and everybody else has single victories. Actually, Bobby Jacks won at Killcare Speedway in Xenia, Ohio, plus a special invitational race that was held at Pocono that did not count toward the point standings. Here comes the field off of corner number 4, and the green flag waves once again. Back underway, Adcox the leader. Raymond in car number 1, champion of this series, races down the backstretch with Grant Adcox, trying to get the lap back.
Venturini is going straight back. I don't know if he's got something wrong on the restart. He still is not up to speed. I don't know. Breback closes up on him going in turn 3. Now Venturini looks like he's picking it back up.
But it definitely was not a good restart for Bill Venturini. And he now stands a chance of losing that second position as Bob Breback charges forward.
Almost 70 cars entered this ARCA race here this week. We mentioned the field only started the fastest 40, and it was a very difficult field to get in. A lot of regular competitors, guys who have followed the trail all year long, from dirt to quarter-mile pavement to the high banks of the speedways here in the South, just didn't qualify. And it was a tough and strenuous weekend psychologically for many of them. Bill Venturini had what for him is a typical weekend here in the South. That is, he seems to perform well. We mentioned that he won a race here, although right now he has dropped behind Kirk Bryant. Bryant is a lap behind Venturini, so Venturini has yet to lose a position, as there is Lee Raymond right alongside of Kirk Bryant as they go door handle to door handle through 1 and 2, now down the backstretch. Venturini, and just out of the picture is Bob Breback, and Venturini, he's got some decisions to make right now. Whom do I follow? What do I do? I don't want to get involved in these two guys. There's Raymond as he comes very close to Bryant and takes that position away.
Larry, you mentioned they were door handle to door handle. I think they were paint to paint. I think they touched here in the second corner. It was very close if they didn't. What do you think, Benny?
I think right there they probably touched just a little bit, enough that when they went in turn 3, Kirk Bryant backed off the gas and let Lee Raymond go ahead. No use doing that lap after lap, because you're not going to be that fortunate if you do it too many times.
Let's go to Jackaroo to the pit area.
Well, it's been a long trip back to the pits by Alan Kulwicki. Alan, Keselowski got a little too close to you.
Well, I guess he bumped me coming off the second turn a little bit, and that spun me, and it was a hell of a long spin. It just blew out all the tires on the car, and the whole car was just absolutely stuck on the ground. It wouldn't even move, so there was nothing we could do. I couldn't even get back to the pits to put any more tires on, and that's the way it goes. But the Quincy's Ford Thunderbird was running real good for us today. I think we had an excellent shot to win the race, and you know, that's racing. Those things happen. I got another race tomorrow to think about, and I'm just glad I'm okay and the car's not too bad. And old Sirloin made it through another one, so it'll be ready to go to Riverside. That's the car we plan on running our last Winston Cup race in, and fortunately it's still in one piece, so hopefully we're going to go there and have a good run and maybe make up for this a little and win that Champion Spark Plug rookie title.
Boy, that car is one tough side to beat, gentlemen.
All right, there is Grant Adcox, the leader. And back in the pack, racing for 7th position, the number 83 car of Bob Dodder and the 01 driven by Dave Fletcher. Now that's 7th and 8th.
Ralph Jones was in that group. You saw he had to lose a few positions when he was almost involved in that last altercation down the front stretch here. Bryant, by the way, we mentioned him a few minutes ago, is in 12th. Mark Gibson has held his own. He's just 1 lap down. He's in 5th. And there is the number 30 car who spun just a little earlier, and this one looks a little more permanent, Steve Seligman. And now we're getting a report there's oil in 3. As you can see, he's had at least 1 extracurricular excursion down into the grass of the infield as the spoiler underneath Steve's front end is all bent up.
So the track crew is going to have to come out and check for oil and other moisture out in the 3rd corner as the Seligman car comes to a rest in the pit area, and his crew comes to raise the hood and find out if anything can be done. But I think they've already decided that they're going to move the car behind the wall, and it's going to be all over for Steve Seligman from Chicago, Illinois. So a green period now once again with 110 laps completed. We'll be back with more from the ARCA Permatex 300.
This liquid can help keep your engine running cool, prevent corrosion, keep it from boiling over or freezing up. What's in it? AluGuard, a premium quality antifreeze formula approved by all 4 major U.S. car makers. AluGuard, a formula you find in more than 70 brands of antifreeze, but not in Prestone. The label tells you it's car maker approved antifreeze. Antifreeze with AluGuard. Available now.
I told her Suzuki invented quad runners for everybody. She said, who cares?
Hey, look, you want her to come out here? You just tell her that riding a Suzuki quad runner is like skiing, only uphill. It's like windsurfing without the wind. Tell her it's like flying without leaving the ground.
I'd tell her it'd be more fun if she stayed home.
Save a wad on a quad. Factory rebates at your Suzuki dealer now.
Still under caution here at Atlanta International Raceway. Let's update you on the condition of Bill Venturini's car. You heard that it was maybe just a tad slow on the last restart. Well, according to Norman Negri and the rest of the crew, Bill's just simply saving himself. You see, the car is still a tad loose, but they figure that they're going to be able to solve that with their final tire change, which will take place very shortly. As you can see, when you look over my shoulder here, they are checking out the board that is kept lap after lap here on pit road. Norman Negri checks it out, and he has marked an X on the spot. There's the spot. Lap 130. If they can get to there, put on the tires that they desire, they feel they can go the distance and be victorious here in Atlanta.
That remains to be seen, but at least a lot of pit strategy being done down there, as Jack reported to you. The number 92 machine of Ralph Jones comes in for a stop.
You know, Jack Arute showed the board. They had to exit lap 130, which is 18 laps from now, and it looks real simple. Folks, it is not that simple.
Well, Benny, let me also speculate on something else. We take a look at Ralph Jones. Lap 130 means that he would have to go 68 laps to conclude this race. And remember that Venturini came in after turning 67 laps before. So that's one more lap further than he went under that long green or mostly green segment at the beginning of this race. Plus the fact, remember, that that long green segment had some caution flags in it between laps, laps 2 through 10. I'm not so sure, unless they have something that they haven't revealed to everybody else. I don't think that car can go 38 laps on a load of fuel, but that also points up the fact that you try to cut it as close as you can. That fuel is less weight at the end of the race, and makes you go faster.
Well, that's right. If the cars hold 22 gallons of fuel, if they were to be out of fuel at the end of the race, we're talking about 150 pounds lighter than the competition if he were to have a full tank of fuel.
Remember the calculations, though, Benny, that take place down here. Your pit crew does it all the time. They go back to the fuel, have those dump cans filled back up, and they get exactly how many gallons are put back in. Then by subtraction and averaging, they were able to come up with what at least the average fuel consumption is. And as you know, Benny, generally the mark of a good winning team is the one that can figure it out the closest and the best.
Exactly. Jack, that's exactly right. But the one thing that's going to throw the monkey in the wrench, or the monkey wrench in the whole deal, is tires. We talked about how important tires are. If there's a caution flag at lap 165, 170, they're all going to have to dive on pit road and put more tires on.
You know what's interesting there, though, and I've been surprised by it. With all the talk we made about Winston Cup regulars and how they've come down to this division, a lot of their influence. As I look at most of the teams, Benny, none of them really, I think, have brought the tire technology down. They are with less tires, no one that's totally dedicated to figuring it out, and it's still a hit-or-miss attitude here in the ARCA pits, not like what we'll see tomorrow. Well,
that's terrific, Jack. I'm really glad to see that, because that's like racing used to be. That's like the good old days, and really and truly, that's the way it should be.
All right, thanks for the information from the pits. We'll see what happens in the pit area a little bit later. Right now, we see what happens on the racetrack as the green flag comes back out on lap number 114, and we are back to high-speed competition. It's Grant Adcox leading this race with Bill Venturini second, Bob Freeback third. A lap down in fourth is Lee Raymond, and a lap down in fifth is Mark Gibson.
I'll tell you what, Grant Adcock is getting a good start, but he's doing it a little bit too early. And the officials, the ARCA officials, I'm sure, are going to have a word to say with this young man when this race is over. The races are supposed to be restarted on the caution flag about right there as you come off turn 4. Adcock is starting the race back between 3 and 4.
There are no cars between Adcox and second place Bill Venturini, but Venturini doesn't seem to be really closing the distance very quickly, as it's about a half a straightaway, maybe a quarter of a straightaway advantage for Grant Adcox.
This has not also been a typical ARCA Atlanta race. The last 2 races here, we have set records for the most number of lead changes. There were 8 back in March, and correction, the last 2 super speedway races, 8 back in March here at Atlanta. As we look at the interval between first and second, as you can see, it's just 1.4 seconds. Venturini right now trails Adcox, and when they raced in Talladega in July, we had 9 leaders. That too was a track record. Venturini right now would like to add 1 more lead change to this race here at Atlanta today.
We have had 7 lead changes among 3 drivers to this point, and the interval last time was 1.4 seconds. We're going to do it again this lap and see if that interval has changed any. Venturini comes off the corner. Here comes Adcox crossing the line. And there is Venturini. It's 1.6, just about the same, maybe a little bit more. And there is Bob Donner in car number 83 going alongside Scott Stovall in number 0, and they're racing for the 8th and 9th spot.
And Stovall has come on a little bit here in the last few laps. He was shown in 10th just about 3 laps ago underneath the last caution flag, so Stovall has gotten around Dave Fletcher as well as Ralph Jones, and now the 2 former ARCA champions right in front of Ralph Jones continue to race for position into the top 10. Donner, a 3-time champ. Stovall, the youngster on the outside there, a 1-time champ.
Donner campaigning that 1981 Le Mans, and the number 0 car is an 86 Monte Carlo driven by Scott Stovall.
And Scott Stovall in the maroon number 0, if you've been a very loyal ESPN auto racing fan since the very beginning, you might think back to 1980. Scott Stovall was one of the stars, one of the very early auto racing 80 shows on ESPN. We saw him run and do well as a teenager on the high banks at the Salem Superspeedway.
And he was at that time kind of a mentor of Moose Myers also.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, Moose Myers used to drive this 0 car for many, many years.
And I cannot let a race go by without saying this, and I know that Scott is taping this at home, and he wants me to say it. I called him Mini Moose a couple of races ago, and it still sticks. He's a big guy, I want to tell you. You don't want to get on the wrong side of Scott.
That, by the way, the number 92 car here of Ralph Jones is also racing with the other 2, so it's kind of a 3-car battle here. Once again, the leader is Grant Adcox, as he puts another lap on the number 31 car, now being driven by Bill Flowers. And the interval still just about the same as it was. And the number 01 car of Dave Fletcher and Kirk Bryant in the white number 12 continue to go at it out there. This is the battle for 6th spot.
Kirk Bryant is another guy that you might kind of stick away in the back of the files of your mind, who may have a future in stock car racing. To see Kirk drifting just a little bit out of the fast line through Atlanta's turns 3 and 4. But remember, he won a race here a couple of years ago. As a matter of fact, I think it was this late October, early November race 2 years ago, Benny.
I believe you're right, and he has a good chance in automobile racing because his father, Darrell Bryant, very knowledgeable young man, a crew chief for many, many years, crew chief for Rusty Wallace. Jeff Bodine was his crew chief for Bryant was the crew chief for Jeff Bodine in a season or so. So Kirk has an opportunity because his father has so much knowledge that he can pass on to him.
He also had a pole position here at Atlanta. As we go back up front and look at Grant Adcox, who continues to hold on to the lead here. Despite Bryant's speed that he has shown here at Atlanta, he has only led 1 ARCA Superspeedway race.
Grant Adcox down the backstretch. Next time around, we're going to check the interval once again. It appears as if Venturini is closing the gap, but we'll confirm that here in just a second as Adcox comes off the 4th corner and crosses the line. We'll start the stopwatch again and then stop it when Venturini crosses. And It definitely is closing in. It's just about half of what it was about 3 laps ago. So Venturini set sail for the leader, Grant Adcox.
It's noticeable that he's gaining right now. Venturini got a little bit too high as he exited turn 2 that time. You know, that's the thing is he saw Adcox up there and he said, I'm gaining. And then he tried a little bit too hard and lost some of the advantage he had gained earlier.
We have mentioned a couple of times the fact that Bill Elliott will be on the pole for tomorrow's race, and Mark Martin will be alongside. For those of you who do not know, Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt will be in the 2nd row. 3rd row will be Morgan Shepherd and Rick Wilson. And then, Benny, you and Tim Richmond will start back there in the 4th row.
I got some good company, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, Richmond. I wish I could get some of that, whatever he's got, rub off on me tomorrow.
I bet you'd like to start alongside him all year, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. He's been on the pole like 6 times or something. 7 times maybe he's had pole position this year.
Bill Venturini, the pursuer. Grant Adcox, the pursuee. There is the number 75 car of Bob Schacht. Remember, he had those unscheduled stops early in the race. There's champion Lee Raymond, and Schacht has really gotten back up to speed and is running just as quick as anybody among the leaders. There you can see they are actually passing, no, correct, check that, that's Bobby Breback passing Raymond. I guess Schacht has passed the 2 of these, so he is running quicker than at least Bobby Breback, but Breback is 3rd in this race.
That's right. Schacht passed them both just a moment ago, and it's going on. Had it not been for the unscheduled stops that he had, he'd be in good shape right now.
Well, as we watch Lee Raymond sort of to the bottom of the racetrack and not really putting a whole lot of effort into this race, we think back to what he told us yesterday. And that was he's already wrapped up the championship. There's no pressure here this weekend. He just came to have fun and relax, believe it or not, at 170 miles an hour or whatever.
I'll tell you, Benny, a couple of people said to me, you know, it's kind of a shame that Raymond won the championship because he doesn't have that killer instinct. I don't really buy that. I think if indeed that Raymond, the guy there in the orange, number 1, lacks somewhat of a killer instinct as he continues to race with Fletcher, he more than makes up for it with some heady driving. He finishes just about every race, and I had a list here in front of me a few moments ago, here it is, of the super speedway races, and Lee Raymond was the only one who has finished in the top 5, not only top 5, but top 3 in every super speedway race on this year in ARCA.
That's right. Look, Venturini is right behind Adcox. Bob, we're going to have a race in a lap or so.
I think that what we are seeing is Bill Venturini, as we mentioned when he was racing with Alan Kulwicki. Perhaps he's just biding his time and not letting Adcox get too far away, and we might be seeing a move here within just a very few laps. And Venturini possibly taking over this lead. We're 127 laps into this event. 198, don't forget, will make up this race.
And Benny, we heard a few moments ago that a lot of the leaders were thinking about coming in around lap 130 or a little later. That's an indication that they feel as though they need to be prepared should this race go the rest of the way under green.
Larry, let me update you, though, on one car, the lead car, when he intends to pit. We checked with the crew right here, and they said we're going to have to wait until at least lap 140 before we can bring Grant in for his final stop. So they're counting it down a tad differently than Bill Venturini's crew is.
Okay, remember, Venturini said lap 130 was their goal. Next time around, it'll be lap 129, so we're getting very close to that time when Venturini may be coming in for the stop.
You know, we look at that scoreboard, and that's a typical ARCA scoreboard. Now, if that were a NASCAR score, he'd have the lap speed that his car had performed each lap, every lap. He'd have the time written down, so when they go home, the crew could go through that scoreboard and tell what they did and what kind of difference it made when the day was over by checking the speeds.
There's Kirk Bryant looking to the inside of Lee Raymond. They've been tussling and tugging at each other for about the last 10 laps. Neither one of them seemingly gaining a significant advantage. Right now, unofficially, that would be the contest for 6th position.
Look at Bryant go inside down, going in turn 3. They're side by side. But can Bryant keep it on the bottom of the racetrack?
Oh, they get close.
He hasn't been able to keep it on the bottom. This time he's doing a little bit better job of it.
Kirk Bryant a couple of youngsters, really both of these guys under 30 years of age, and both of them looking at probably the next 10, 12 years in terms of their future as race drivers.
Lee Raymond is only 1 lap down, and Kirk Bryant is shown as 2 laps down, so that wasn't a battle for position, but some mighty fine, close competition out there. Now look at this. Speaking of competition, now Venturini is right on the back bumper of Grant Adcox, and that was lap 131, so they have met their goal, but should be coming in for a stop soon.
We might also point out that maybe one of the reasons why Venturini is running a little quicker than Adcox, as the fuel load went down, that car lightened up. It perhaps gets a little faster because it is lighter, but also sometimes as the fuel load lessens, the tire setup becomes more favorable. You can run quicker when the load gets lighter.
But you know, we're back in the same situation as we was earlier on in the race when he was running with Kowicki. He was right on the back bumper of Kowicki. A couple of laps later, he'd be 15 car lengths behind. Same situation. He was on the back bumper of Adcock. Now he's 10 or 15 car lengths behind, and I don't quite understand.
I'll tell you, Benny, whenever I see this going on, though, I feel very comfortable with it. I normally say I like the race that the guy in second place is running. And even though that Venturini's had those little nagging things apparently today that seem to be tugging at his heartstrings just a bit, I like the race he's running.
The Venturini chess game is picking up some new nuances, though. We've already hit about lap 130. Remember, that's when Norman Negree said he'd bring the car in. Well, now he's altered his opinion. He says, I'm going to keep a window of 130 to 155. If we can get the car in under caution, we'll bring it in any time during that. We think we've got enough fuel to go to at least 155 before we have to bring him in under green.
Next time will be lap number 135. So we still will need one more pit stop by everybody as the drama continues at Atlanta International Raceway.
There came a moment when all the elements came together, unleashing a superbly equipped new breed of compact car, the Dodge Shadow, with 2 or 4 door availability. Affordable price, a $550 protection plan. The new Dodge Shadow is going to cast a giant shadow across America. Dodge setting new standards of performance.
Give me a light. Bud Light. Oh, the chili.
If you just ask for a light beer, you never know what you'll get.
Give me a light. Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light. No, Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
The 5th yellow light of the afternoon has just flashed on. It occurred down in turn number 1, and it involved number 31, Bill Flowers, in a car that was started by Connie Saylor. You can see the car sideways, nudging the wall just slightly with the rear of the car, then coming to a rest in the middle of the racetrack on the banking. But more importantly than the spin itself is the fact that we are under yellow, and that means that we are expecting now a flurry of pit stop activity. It should be occurring here in just a few moments as the Venturini and the Adcock pits are very, very anticipatory, waiting for their drivers to come in. The field is right now in turn number 4, and neither Adcox nor Venturini are coming in this time. They apparently think that it's going to be some time before the problem down in turn number 1 is corrected. They're going to wait as long as possible to come in and get that needed fuel.
Benny, I'm absolutely astounded.
I am amazed. I don't understand. I do not understand.
It seems like it's the right time. We're at lap 137. The race will go 198, so you're 61 laps from the end of this race. Should be well within the window. Doesn't seem like anybody has to be stretching. What do you think, Jack?
Well, it makes a lot of sense to me based on what we've been able to accrue from the different crew chiefs. Remember now, the leader, Bill Venturini's crew, they said that they'd had to get to lap 130. Well, we're working lap 137. They're just looking for a little more of a cushion. But Grant Adcox, on the other hand, said they needed to go to at least lap 140 before they came into pits. Now, granted, you don't expel or consume as much fuel during caution, but when you think it's going to be a few laps, if the leader doesn't go in, not necessary for you to go in. It is kind of monkey see, monkey do, especially in those types of situations.
Well, I think the question here is how long the yellow is going to be on. The track crew has completed its job. Now here they come as both Adcox and Venturini head for pit road. Let's go down to Jack, who will call the stop by second-place runner Bill Venturini.
There you see Bill Venturini coming to a halt. The crew goes over the wall to take their positions to change outside tires. Remember, what they're going to do this time with tires is change the stagger. Also getting service on the outside is Grant Adcox. Adcox further down pit road as a crew member inside the car adjusting on the right rear wedge bolt. Their crew has completed the task, at least on the right side. They're going to go to left side tires, as will Bill Venturini. Taking advantage of this caution period where they can get all the work done, they're going to put 4 new tires on Grant Adcox's machine. There's Bill Venturini's all crew going to work of fixing the lug nuts on the left side. On the top side, Adcox. On the bottom is Venturini. Your 1-2 combination in today's ARCA event. Now, who's Jack? First one is Venturini, but both will pull away first. Out, though, will be Grant Adcox because he's further down pit road.
That is absolutely right, Jack. The crews ended their jobs at just about the same time, but because Adcox was pitted further down pit road toward turn run, he gets out quick. But Bob Breback is going to be the leader of this race because he got out before either Adcox or Venturini.
Well, that'll be interesting. Bobby Breback hasn't really revealed everything that he is holding in his hand today, but now we'll see what we'll see. Benny?
Breback's got a big problem. He only changed 2 tires.
That's right.
Well, believe me, at Atlanta, that's a big problem.
Yeah, good point. That's the reason he was in and out so quickly. Changed tires on only one side, so he is at a bit of a disadvantage as he pulls up right behind the pace car and assumes command of this 198-lap race. But he, on the other hand, has only one good set of tires.
Well, back in March, as we continue to look at Bobby Breback, and there goes Adcox moving up along the outside of Breback. I don't think he realizes that Bobby Breback is the leader of this race. Grant's saying, hey, you're 1 lap down, but no, Grant, that's not the way it is. Bobby is still in the lead lap, and ARCA officials are going to have to get this straightened out because Adcox thinks that he is leading. I was about to say that when we had this race back in March, Grant Adcox led more laps than anybody else, 70, although it was close. Lee Raymond led 62 laps. The other leaders were Ralph Jones, who we saw some flashes from earlier today, Bobby Dotter, Bobby Jacks, Bob Shack, who had those early pit stops, David Sosby, who crashed out here in the front stretch, and guess who? Mr. Venturini.
Tell you what, they better get that pace car off the racetrack. He's going to get run over.
That was close. The pace car is off the track, and the field is at full speed even now. The green waves and the ARCA Permatex 300 resumes once again on lap number 139. It's Breback, then Adcox, then Bill Venturini headed into turn number 2.
Bob Shack, I tell you, he could be the spoiler in this situation right now. If those 2 fellas don't get around pretty quick, Breback could get away. But Adcox is cleared him. And look at him dive in the racetrack and right up behind Breback. Look at the time he's making up coming off the corner.
Boy, he's really getting a bite, Benny.
Let's see if Adcox can reassume the lead here off of the 4th corner to the inside. Yes, Grant Adcox leads lap number 140, and Grant goes back on top.
There we saw. That was evident just how much of an advantage 4 tires is as compared to 2.
Down the back straight at about 100%. Now we're going to have a change of second position. That's Bill Venturini on the inside of Breback. Venturini now gets completely by and goes to second. Breback falls from first to third in a lap and a half.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Bill Venturini from Chicago, Illinois. I don't know, is that the north versus the south? No, I don't think so. Those days are certainly past. Certainly for ARCA, it's everybody into the fish pond together, and these are a couple of people who have performed well in 1986 in ARCA racing. For that matter, so has Breback there, who is running in 3rd position, and it's almost like it should be. It's really a shame that Kowicki dropped out of this race, but it is very appropriate that Adcox and Venturini looks like that they are going to be the ones slugging it out here for the win at Atlanta.
You know, Bob Breback, we saw him go in the corner. We watched him go in, and the last time he went up the racetrack. That's just evident of not having left side tires. The right sides will carry up. If you're able to put left sides on, you're able to see lower on the racetrack. But, you know, the question is, as Jack Arute mentioned a moment ago from down the pits, those fellows don't have tires sitting every place because a 4 tires, a set of tires for a race car is $600. You know, maybe Bob Brebeck doesn't have $600 to spend on the chance that he can win the race.
We're watching Bob Brebeck and Bob Schacht in car number 75. Now, Brebeck is on the lead lap. There are 3 cars on the lead lap, Adcox, Venturini, and Brebeck, whereas Schacht is not on the lead lap. Now we have Bill Venturini really closing in on Grant Adcox here as they battle for that lead, and Venturini may be having the desire to go back in the lead in his mind.
The road is narrowing. Venturini, you can see him just propelling, getting quite a surge off of turns 3 and 4, really getting around that end. Let's see if Bill gets around this end quite as well. Adcox with the advantage going into the corner. Venturini not quite getting the jet propulsion out of number 2 as he got out of number 4. Let's see exactly what Venturini has. There is Bill. You just saw a picture of Grant. Venturini gets a little bit of a run up on Grant going down turns 3 and 4. Cookout going on in the infield. Not smoke from a spinning car. Look at Venturini move in.
Here he comes off the 4th corner. He'll be going inside, we assume. No, he just stays right behind Adcox. Gets right on his back bumper down the straightaway and stays there.
The idea here is to get a good end of this racetrack. He's got the advantage in 3 and 4. I thought he'd make the move there, but no, it's coming up in turn 2.
Like shot out of a cannon, Bill Venturini goes inside of Adcox and takes over the lead once again.
Well, I'm surprised, Benny. I thought it was going to come up in 3 and 4 because he didn't look like he had the superior setup in 1 and 2, but he didn't waste any time once he got the edge.
What happened the last time down in 1 and 2 is he drove the car in too deep. He went in the corner with too much speed, and he drifted up the racetrack and lost 4 or 5 car lengths. That time, he backed off a little bit earlier, and as you saw, kept it on the bottom of the racetrack, and away he went.
When he goosed it, I saw it get loose just a tad. I saw a wisp of smoke, and I thought, doesn't have it this lap, but he had just enough momentum that it stuck.
Goosed it, what does that mean?
I'm not sure.
That must be an old Midwestern colloquialism. I don't know, it seems common to me.
Now Adcox also looking strong here, looking inside of Venturini, but unable to take that spot away again. Well, Bill Venturini's only win in ARCA racing this year was here on this racetrack in March, and the defending champion of this race is Lee Raymond, so we may see 2 in a row at Atlanta for Bill Venturini here this afternoon. With 148 laps completed now, we'll take a break and be back with more from Atlanta International Raceway.
You want to save a lot of money on a car? Come to Don Kramer.
You want it, you got it.
Savings. That's what you're going to get when you come to Don Kramer Lincoln Mercury.
Because saving you money is the one thing that Don Kramer does better than anyone else. Discover Don Kramer's exciting small car division with a great selection of colors and styles and super low prices.
You want it, you got it.
Yes, you got it. The best deals, Don Kramer Lincoln Mercury Mercour.
You got it.
Your pain can be a frightening mask that hides the real you, even from yourself. But doctors of osteopathic medicine, or DOs, are trained to look beneath that mask of pain to see the whole person. And that's why DOs care for all of you, not just your symptoms. Learn more and get this life-saving emergency handbook by calling 224-HELP from Grandview and Southview Hospitals, your DO hospitals, where we treat people, not just symptoms.
With Larry Newber, Jack Arute, Benny Parsons, this is Bob Jenkins at Atlanta International Raceway as we bring you live ARCA stock car racing on this Saturday afternoon. We are 149 laps into a 198-lap race. It's been a race primarily dominated, well, not dominated, but at least Bill Venturini has been involved in the lead most of the day. Alan Kulwicki led a great portion of this race. Grant Adcox has led, but Bill Venturini has the top spot again.
Bob, earlier we mentioned that about 70 drivers entered the race here this weekend in Atlanta. 38, by the way, were officially classified as rookies, to give you an idea of what's happening in ARCA racing Of course, many of the veterans, the guys who've been around the last 5 or 6 years, qualified easily. But for many of the people in the mid-pack, it was a difficult field to get into because so many people entered. And among those people who are not going to get in, you're going to have 30 cars or so that aren't going to qualify. At least half of them are going to be in a position where they hit just the right setup and crank off a good lap. And one of those regulars who attends week after week is just going to be closed out. Some of the people who didn't make it, Trevor Boyce was here, he didn't qualify. Ricky Vanador from down here in South Carolina. Kevin LePage in his own car, although Kevin was able to get a ride in another ARCA machine for this race. Reno Fontana from Houston, Texas, was in a Ronnie Thomas car. He didn't qualify. Morris Coughlin from Plainfield, Indiana. Ed Marie from Kannapolis. That was a Booby Harrington fielded machine. Burgess White, whom we've seen a number of times in an ARCA or a Winston Cup race as a non-qualifier. Joey Sontag from Texas. Johnny Haver, Charlotte, North Carolina. Certainly somebody was expected to be in the field. Jimmy Castleberry, Morris Randall, and then Mike Bettenhausen.
For those of you who have tuned in to watch the Dewey Stevens Ladies Professional Bowling, we will go to that live right after the conclusion of this race. And then at 4:30 Eastern Time, we invite you to stay tuned for the Seiko Tucson Match Play Championship. Match play format with the winner moving on to the next round. Some of the players competing, Tom Watson and Bob Tway, Calvin Peete. The defending champion is Jim Thorpe. That's at 4:30 this afternoon here on ESPN. And then tonight, boy, it should be a tremendous football game as Penn State goes up against West Virginia.
Now look at this. Here comes Grant Adcock's back on Venturini. Larry, tell me what's going on, or Jack, tell me what's going on there.
I got to believe, Benny, that both cars are so evenly matched that the slightest little variance in tire temperatures, fuel load, adjusting the weight of the car, traffic, the slightest little variance comes up and it causes a dramatic change in the complexion between the two cars.
Here's a great race for 7th position. It involves the 83 of Bob Dotter and the 12 of Kirk Bryant. They touched last time around, but now Bryant makes the pass and goes into that 7th position.
And talking about near the front, there are Adcox and Venturini again as they go at it.
And look, now that's the number 11.
Yeah, I thought it was Preback too. Yeah. That's Jerry Churchill, though, who got into the car after Bobby Wayback started. It looked like Bobby Preback for a while. Preback is still third, but we just got a glimpse at what's going on behind him.
Venturini's car that last time as he came off turn 4, Bob, you noticed was very, very high. And again, I really don't know what's going on, but Jack Aruta's been down talking to people. Jack, do you have any idea?
Well, Benny, I've got a supposition that I'm going to put in front of you, and you react to it. You know, one of the keys to being successful in the Winston Cup division is consistency. That ability to go out there and turn lap after lap after lap consistently within a tenth of a second. If you can't do that, you go up there and maybe you go back down to the Automobile Racing Club of America or the American Speed Association. As I've been looking at the lap times, that's been what's been happening to these two cars, Venturini and Adcox. Both of them have been very erratic in terms of lap times. And some of that, of course, is due to traffic, but some of it, I think, as well, is due to the fact that they don't have as many miles on a super speedway at 160 miles per hour plus as maybe a Benny Parsons or a Darrell Waltrip has.
Yeah, I suppose that really is the situation, is that they just don't know exactly what that car is. And look, Adcock is alongside Venturini. No, has to fall back. But I think Jack is right. You know, they just don't have that lap after lap to know exactly what that car is going to do when they go in turn 3 or exit turn 4. They're kind of feeling their way around the racetrack, but they're learning.
And remember, Venturini, we were told earlier in the race, his neck brace broke, and so he is having to deal with that problem in addition to everything else that's going on out there on the racetrack. Venturini leads Adcox. Now, here is a replay, and this is how close the racing is.
There's Kirk Bryant and Bob Dotter, and Bryant goes up, touches Dotter in the left rear, and the car starts. And Kirk Bryant backed off, let him straighten the car out. Thank goodness he did. We could have had a serious crash coming off turn 4.
That was 6. They were jousting away for 6th position. They trail Ralph Jones in number 92 for 5th. Lee Raymond is 4th. And, of course, we've talked about the 3 that are on their own in terms of the lead lap.
That other car there to the inside of the racetrack is the number 10, driven by Rick O'Brien from Normal, Illinois, a guy that we used to watch run USAC stocks on the dirt over in Springfield. field. We used to televise races from over there.
As a matter of fact, Bob, talking about that as well as picking up on the point that Jack and Benny just made, this division runs on so many different kinds of racetracks. You have to admire it from that standpoint, but it really does put you at a disadvantage when you come down to a super speedway, going from a quarter-mile pavement to a mile dirt to a mile-and-a-half paved high-bank super speedway.
That's how close the battle for the lead is right there. It's Venturini and Adcox. Now we go back and check on the battle for 5th position. The number 92 car is driven by Ralph Jones, and the 83 machine is Bob Dotter. Dotter goes to the inside off the 4th turn. He may have this position. Side by side as they cross the line, that slower car, the number 6 car, Ronnie Adams, may play a factor. Jones holds on to 5th.
I tell you what, 3 abreast going down in turn 1, that's not the way to do it.
Tracy Leslie swishing back and forth. He's at least a lap down to Jones and Dotter, who is leading this quartet down the backstretch, singing a harmony, singing harmonious tunes. The engine's at full song as they go down into the 1/2 mile long turns 3 and 4. There is Tracy Leslie is running really quick, but he hasn't been able to hold on to the line to get around Dotter.
Well, he is not on the same lap as Dotter or Jones, but is certainly battling right alongside with them and affecting it somewhat. He's to the low side of Dotter now in turn 2.
Go ahead, Benny.
He don't care if he's on the lead lap. He's racing. That's what he's doing.
Right where we saw Sosby, or rather Keselowski, get into Kowicki.
There is Bob Dotter from Chicago, Illinois, in that 1981 machine. Ralph Jones in car number 92 right ahead of him. It's an 86 Thunderbird.
Bob, we've mentioned it before, but I really do believe it bears worth mentioning whenever we do an ARCA race, particularly on a super speedway. Remember that Bobby Dotter only has one hand. He drives this car with a hook, and he does a very excellent job. As Jack said earlier about the pit crew of Bill Venturini, it's not a publicity stunt. Bobby Dotter is a 3-time champion of ARCA, and he handles the car quite well.
In the pits is the number 0 car of Scott Stovall from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He started this race in 30th position, and it looks like it's something other than a routine stop. They're changing the rear tires.
They're changing both rear tires, aren't they? They jacked the car up under the center of the rear end housing and changed both rear tires. Quite a switch, folks. You normally don't see the cars do this. They normally jack it up on the right side or left side. That's interesting.
Yeah, he was running near the top 10. Scott has normally performed in the top 10 whenever he runs at an ARCA race. Benny, that again might have been part of that inexperience in the super speedways. He might have been complaining about a vibration in the back, so what do? Well, let's change both tires and try and get rid of it.
Look at Adcox gain on Venturini as they go in turn 3. But then as they exit, the advantage seems to go away, and Venturini holds the advantage. But Adcox continually just going in turn 3 extremely strong.
There are 33 more laps to go. 165 laps have been completed. Don't go away. This race is far from over as Venturini and Adcox are running right together on the racetrack, and we could have a change of position at any moment. Let's go down to Jack.
Well, gentlemen, we've talked a lot about the shade tree nature of the mechanics down here in ARCA competition. Not to cast any dispersions against the 0 team, but they came in and they knew they had a rear tire flat. They weren't sure which one, so asked the crew chief. He said, well, we just figured change both of them. Who cares about the stagger?
You know, that's pretty doggone interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but figuring out which tire is flat in the left rear or right rear is a difficult problem. So maybe we should start doing that and change the 2 rears instead of guessing that it's the right or the left.
Might save a pit stop.
Might save a pit stop.
There is Venturini now. But sneaking up very closely, just like you said last lap, Benny, when they get into turn number 3, Adcox just closes it up to within a half a car length or so, but coming down the straightaways, Venturini seems to pull away. But not this time. Adcox right there on his rear bumper.
But then again, going back to when Venturini was chasing Adcox, remember those few laps? Venturini seemed to gain ground going into 3 and going around the long apex of 3 and 4. Same place Adcox is.
I think Jack Rude a moment ago hit on exactly what the deal is, that these fellas just don't have the miles that some of us veterans have on these racetracks.
Once again, Ralph Jones and Bob Dotter are battling for position back in 6th and in 7th. There they are, Jones, followed by Bob Donner. The 11 car is not on the same lap. That's being driven now by Jerry Churchill, but there are Jones and Donner.
Jerry Churchill, the trucker from the Detroit, Michigan area, for whom I have a relative, by the way, who works. I bet you didn't know that, did you, Mr. Jenkins? But at any rate, there's Jones and Bobby Donner. They've been having a good scrimmage going after each other for about the last 20 green flag laps.
Look at this. Adcock's on the low side of the racetrack on the bottom. Cannot pull off the pass, but he certainly is right there with Bill Venturini, clicking off lap number 170. 28 more laps to go. 28 more laps to go.
Well, that was close. Ronnie Adams looking up in the rearview mirrors, getting ready to turn left, and all of a sudden on the right side, on the high side, here comes Venturini blasting by.
You know, Grant Adcock might not pass Bill Venturini, but he's at least going to worry him to death.
You're right about that. So the battle goes on here at Atlanta International Raceway as we bring you ARCA Stock Car Racing, and we'll be back in just a moment.
There came a moment when all the elements came together, unleashing a superbly equipped new breed of compact car, the Dodge Shadow, with 2- or 4-door availability, affordable price, a $550 protection plan. The new Dodge Shadow is going to cast a giant shadow across America. Dodge setting new standards of performance.
CarQuest, America's auto parts giant, puts the buying power of over 2,000 stores to work to bring you down-to-earth values right here in your own neighborhood.
So come on down and see what's up at CarQuest.
Bad spark plugs can cost you money mile after sluggish mile. With a tune-up and a new set of performance-guaranteed Champion Copper Plus spark plugs, you can get that engine running right. Ask for Champion spark plugs so you can get up and go.
See me, your qualified counter pro at CarQuest, the right place to buy auto parts.
Back at Atlanta International Raceway for the ARCA Permatex 300. And there's the story of the race so far. Bill Venturini followed closely by Grant Adcock's 1st and 2nd position. And this race here at Atlanta is being brought to you by Dodge, a performance revolution, an American revolution. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. So we wind down here on this Saturday afternoon our stock car competition, one of 2 races that we'll televise for you here at Atlanta this weekend. Tomorrow at noon, be with us for the Atlanta Journal 500, the race that could decide the Winston Cup. Dale Earnhardt is going for it all tomorrow.
Well, General Motors has them covered here at Atlanta as they go around the outside of Bobby Jacks. This field was comprised of 20 Monte Carlo Chevrolets, 2 of which, right there, Venturini and Adcock are shooting it out for the win. There were 2 Pontiac Le Mans, which were entered in this race, 6 Grand Prix for a total of 8 Pontiacs, 2 Buick LeSabres, and 3 Regals for a total of 5, and 3 Oldsmobiles that comprised this field. Only 4 Thunderbirds began this race. One of them, Alan Kawicki, almost was the winner, and Ralph Jones, at least in the early stages, we thought he would be competitive. One of those old Bill Elliott cars. He had qualified along with Kawicki up into the first 4, but Chevrolet, most notably, is dominating this event.
The 43 car, Terry Pearson, moved the Bill Venturini car up the racetrack coming off turn 2 a moment ago. He was not able to get back on the throttle the way he wanted to, and look how much Adcock has gained just that they're side by side.
Here comes Grant. Is he going to go into the lead here? He pulls alongside of Bill Venturini going into turn number 1. Who has the momentum? They're side by side. Venturini hangs on.
Wow.
But it's not over yet. Venturini, it looks like it is over for this lap, but Venturini had he moved up the racetrack a little bit higher and gotten too high, Adcock had the advantage.
You know, Benny, from this vantage point up here in the press box, and as you look at it on TV, it looks easy, it looks soft, it looks flowing, it looks graceful. But when you're inside the cockpit, when this is going on, and the race is What is up for grabs? It's downright violent.
It's very, very hard. Adcock's again trying to low group, trying to get the low group worked out. So if he ever gets in that position, and look, almost touches the exit turn 2.
Lap traffic may be playing a factor here. They go, one goes one way, one goes the other to put a lap on Mark Gibson. Venturini and Adcock's now both going to the high side to get around Gary Newper. And for the moment, Venturini opens up just a little bit of breathing room.
That was close. If that car, if Newper hadn't been there, I believe Adcock would have had the lead.
Now they go 3 wide going into turn number 1. And all of this is not playing well for Grant Adcock because he has lost a little bit of distance. The 0-1 of Dave Fletcher is in for a pit stop, and he was running in 9th spot.
Coming in at lap 179, we're getting definitely into the closing stages of this race. You got to figure that Fletcher must have felt some type of vibration. Maybe he too had a tire going down, but he drops out of 9th position to take this brief break with less than 20 laps to go.
Car zero spinning wildly off the second corner.
That's Scott Stovall from Fort Wayne. You can see he's also made contact with the wall as the front end of that car is badly damaged. So Scott Stovall will bring out caution period number 6.
Okay, we saw at Indianapolis earlier this year how a late caution flag can really be a factor in a race. Benny, you commented about Grant Adcock's starts earlier in this event. Now he'll be lined up in second behind Venturini. Let's see how they play it.
Once again, for those of you who tuned in for Dewey Stevens Ladies Bowling, we'll go to that live right after the conclusion of this race, and we are now 18 laps from the conclusion of this event. The yellow out because of Scott Stovall's crash. That's what they're going for, the winner's trophy here at Atlanta.
There came a moment when all the elements came together, unleashing a superbly equipped new breed of compact car, the Dodge Shadow, with 2 or 4 door availability, affordable price, a $550 protection plan. The new Dodge Shadow is going to cast a giant shadow across America. Dodge setting new standards of performance.
Power and long life. That's what you get from Interstate Batteries. With service all across America, Interstate means power and long life. Get Interstate. Take power.
NHL hockey on ESPN, the most exciting action on television. Each week through the Stanley Cup Finals, ESPN's outstanding coverage brings you the teams and players. The New York Islanders skate against the Washington Capitals in a Patrick Division shootout. Live Tuesday night at 8 Eastern on ESPN. Sundays, have a swinging good time with AWA Wrestling. You'll feel every bone-crushing blow. Sundays on ESPN.
Well, there won't be that kind of body slamming tomorrow during the Winston Cup race, but we expect a great one at noon tomorrow here in Atlanta. Right now in this ARCA race, Bill Venturini trying to hold off Grant Adcock. Let's try to talk to Bill Venturini on the radio.
The caution flag continues to stay out for one more lap. Bill, this is Larry Newber up at ESPN Control. Well, buddy, what do you think? Do you have him covered?
Oh, Grant hasn't showed me everything he's got yet. I think when he's ready, it's going to go down to the door handle.
How about for you, Bill? Have you showed Grant everything that you have?
When he pulls alongside of me, you'll know. Yeah, we've been running pretty fast. He's, there's maybe a little more left. I've been trying to save it for the last 10 laps.
Bill, this is Benny Parsons. They talked about your neck brace had broken. How is the neck feeling?
Oh, it's all right now. We got a bungee cord holding my head up, so I'm physically much better than I was at the first part of the race. But Grant's going to touch me. There's no doubt about it. Whoever wins this one deserves it.
Good luck, buddy.
Well, they say you can fix anything with a coat hanger or a rubber band or a bungee cord, and I guess he has his problem corrected with the bungee cord there, the head brace. But anyway, they continue to clean up the Scott Stovall crash out in corner number 2, and we remain under caution. We'll have some exciting green flag laps when we come back.
Bud Thunder. It's revved up and coming at you.
Bud Thunder is coming through. This Bud's for you.
This America's Cup update is brought to you by Crum & Forster and your independent agent. Challenge Kids France was forced to cover sponsorship name on their hull because of International Rule 26 dealing with advertising. We asked America's Cup juror Mary Pera how she might vote if a protest is brought before her.
I have a total blank in front of my mind. I simply cannot imagine if it comes in front of the jury we're going to sit on now, how on earth we're going to come to a decision.
Amazing, isn't it? The number of good things we accumulate as part of the good life. Things we've worked hard to acquire and would hate to lose. Crum & Forster insurance experts specialize in protecting valuable possessions. Together with your independent agent, Crum & Forster knows best how to insure homes, cars, and all the things that make the good life good. Crum & Forster and your independent agent. Experts recommending experts.
There came a moment when all the elements came together, unleashing a superbly equipped new breed of compact car, the Dodge Shadow. With 2- or 4-door availability, affordable price, a $550 protection plan, the new Dodge Shadow is going to cast a giant shadow across America. Dodge setting new standards of performance.
While we were away, this dramatic event, Grant Adcox comes into the pits and gets 4 new tires. What does that mean?
I think that means that Grant Adcox wins the race. I mean, it's very simple. I've talked about all day just how much of an advantage that new tires are here in Atlanta. I have the experience of knowing that. Venturini, Breback, those guys don't realize that. Grant Adcox been around Winston Cup racing more than any of the rest of them. He knows what advantage it is, and I think Jack Root will back me up on that. Jack?
I have to, Benny, but I'm going to ask Norman Negree. 4 new tires, $600. It went for Grant Adcox. How come you didn't bring him into pit?
Well, I really think in 6 laps, Grant tires will be equal to ours. And, you know, we got enough time.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. We won't have to wait too long, though, because we're fixing to go back to green.
We are indeed. This will be lap number 185 when they come down to receive the green flag. And that will be about 191 when the tires are equal according to Negree.
So Breback is way high on this restart, just not on the button and coming very slowly down the front stretch. Not a driver error. Something has gone wrong with Bobby Breback's car. Bobby getting up and out of the way and everybody getting by.
Now a battle for the lead as Adcox goes to the inside of Bill Venturini, but he cannot pick up that position as Venturini continues to hold off Adcox's challenge despite the fact that Grant has 4 new tires now, side by side once again. That is Adcox to the bottom of the racetrack and Venturini up high. Let's see what happens as they come onto the straightaway. Side by side racing. Adcox may go for it once again, going into turn number 1. Side by side stock car racing from Atlanta International Raceway, and Adcox has the lead.
He takes the lead, although it's tenuous at this point with about, what are we talking, 12 laps to go here. Benny, does he have enough time to get those tires? Does Venturini have enough time to get the tires to equate? What do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think, Breback, we see him in the pits or looking under the car. I think he's probably got a transmission problem. But no, Grant Adcox is gone.
That's a tough break for Bob Breback, who ran so well during this entire race. He started the race in 7th position. was in third, and when they dropped the green flag to come off of that caution period, the car just would not go, and it is currently in the pit area. They lower it down from the jacks and they push it back out onto the racetrack, but Bob Reback will relinquish that third position. Now you can see how Adcox has opened up some racetrack between himself and Bill Venturini as they come down once again to complete lap 188. 10 to go.
And with Reback's retirement, or at least setback, he's going to try. He's going back out on the racetrack. You know who that moves up in the third place? We talked about it at the beginning of the race. He seems to have the uncanny ability to do that. Lee Raymond.
Right. Series champion whose series championship came this year not because of wins, but because of consistency. It has been a very consistent performance for Lee Raymond all this year. His only win came a year ago in this race. Now, ARCA used to begin their season for the next season here in this November race, but it ends the 1986 campaign this year.
There we see Venturini. He's trying to catch Grant Adcock, but he just doesn't have the tires. The harder he tries, the more he goes up the racetrack.
Benny, I don't know whether your comment came on the air or off the air, but I know you said that Adcox is going to win this race by about a straightaway, and I think you're going to be pretty accurate because it's about a half a straightaway now, and Adcox continues to pull away as lap number 190 is flicked off the board.
Well, I think that we saw it right there. We're evidence just how important new tires are in Atlanta.
Also trailing along in third place on the racetrack is Bob Schaap. There goes Venturini. He is sandwiched between the number 2 car of Grant Adcox. There you see on the left of your screen, Schaap is just off to the right. Schaap, for his brand new sponsor, Wealth Unlimited, has turned in a good race once he got over the first 5 or 10 laps. Difficult times for him in the early going, but he's been strong since then. And in what appears to be a very gentlemanly gesture, Benny, he has moved out of the way and let Venturini and Adcox go at it.
Well, and that's what he should do, because at this point, with 6 laps to go, what he does really doesn't make that much difference.
Well, Jack Arute is in victory lane waiting for this race to conclude, but has this observation.
Well, actually, Bob, we're within earshot of victory lane. We're in Bill Venturini's pit. We talked about the 4 tires that went on Grant Adcox's car. You want to know why 4 didn't go on this team? There aren't any. These are all the tires that came off during the course of the event. They didn't have any more tires to put on.
That could spell the difference, or I think we could definitely say it has spelled the difference in this race, as Grant Adcox is now moving well away from Bill Venturini and about to add his 4th victory of 1986 to his credit. His wins have come at Daytona, 2 at Talladega, and here on the Super Speedway at Atlanta. Certainly ARCA's Super Speedway superstar.
Yeah, he really is. And by the way, that is not a sweep with 5 laps to go of the Super Speedways. There have been 6 altogether, but as you so aptly pointed out, Bob, that says it. The Super Speedway superstar.
Keeping up a little bit better than I thought he would, because I said Adcock would win by a straightaway, and it's just about a half straightaway. So Venturini, my hat's off to him. He's doing a super job with something that he just don't have the horses to win right now.
4 more laps to go. 4 more circuits around this 1.522-mile oval here at Atlanta, and this race will be history. In third position is Lee Raymond, a lap down. 4th now, 2 laps down, is Kurt Bryant. And 5th, also 2 laps down, is Ralph Jones, who started the race in 4th position. Grant Adcox moving up behind a slower car in turn number 4. They'll go to the inside. That's Bob. No, it is not. That is the number 4 car of Harry Cooper as he is lapping. And there you can see the Adcox pit crew showing him dollar signs.
You got to finish the race, you know. There's still 4 laps to go. Adcox, who came into this race, ranked 2nd in the number of laps led. He had led 250, 4 different races. Lee Raymond, I think we told you earlier, has led more laps this season than anybody, having led 9 different races, 261 laps going into today. Bobby Jacks was 3rd, Shaq was 4th, and Brett Bodine in the space of 1 race last October here was 5th in laps led for the whole season. He led 170 laps.
Grant Adcox is 36 years of age. He hails from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and is a truck sales manager for Adcox Kirby Chevrolet. And right now his Chevrolet is in the lead. Down the backstretch, heading into turn number 3. Harold Kinder, the official starter for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, is the flag man, and he has the white flag furled. Now it becomes unfurled, and the white flag goes out to Grant Adcox. 1 more left to go. Bill Venturini about a half a straightaway behind, but it looks like as though Grant Adcox is going to win this race here at Atlanta. He comes off the second corner, down the backstretch once again. There isn't a whole lot of traffic between himself and the checkered flag, so he shouldn't have much traffic to worry about. He's between turns 3 and 4 now. In turn number 4, coming off onto the straightaway, Grant Adcox wins the ARCA Permatex 300 here at Atlanta. Bill Venturini crosses the line in 2nd position. Those are the only 2 cars on the lead lap. There's the celebration of the Adcox crew, and there is the trophy that Grant will be putting in the back of the car.
That fellow that was holding up the board a moment ago with a money sign on it, I think that was Bob Brown, his engine builder. That probably meant I'm going to get paid.
Adcox had told me yesterday that next year he was going to go after the ARCA Championship. Not that he didn't this year, but he felt that his inexperience on the short tracks, and particularly the dirt race tracks, really held him back. They had a race in the mile dirt that was won by whom else? Dean Roper about a month and a half ago, and Grant won the whole race, or ran the whole race, but he finished a lap down. Unfortunately, there were like 9 cars in the lead lap, but Grant said that, you know, next year I'm going to really put some effort into doing well on those racetracks where I'm a little weaker at, and I hope to be champ.
Well, Grant takes an insurance lap. We look at the top 5 finishers. Venturini 2nd, Lee Raymond finished 3rd, a lap down. Bob Breback, despite the fact that he had major problems toward the end of the race, had enough laps to finish in 4th. He was 2 laps to the rears, and Kirk Bryant finished in 5th, also 2 laps down. Dewey Stevens Ladies Bowling coming up in just a very few moments, as soon as Grant Adcox can move into victory lane, and we can have a few words from him, I should say.
Benny,
beginning of that bowling.
Excuse me, Bob. Benny, I guess in a situation like this, Adcox is at an interesting crossroads in his career. He's got the system down as far as ARCA goes. Is there a point now that he reaches like you did about 15, 20 years ago and say, well, I got to move on. I got to try NASCAR because things are going so well here with the ARCA.
I don't quite understand what's happening here. Is Adcox, Adcox has driven down the front straightaway again. I don't know if he doesn't have brakes or... Well, no, he's coming back now, coming back to the victory circle.
Well, he took 2 insurance laps for some reason. Now he comes back the other direction down pit road.
I got a theory. There's a traffic jam in pit road. And he has to come down pit road to get to the victory circle.
Yeah,
so Grant just simply could not.
Well, now he turns in the wrong place, though, and he's going to have to continue to come this direction.
He's working his way down there.
It was probably a smart move, because he's going to be in victory lane sooner than he would have had he come off the 4th turn and come in the right way, because there's a big traffic jam down there, as you indicated. Now Grant is moving up into victory lane. ARCA officials and crew members there to greet him. The netting comes off the window, the helmet comes off, and Grant Adcox has won this 300-mile race here at Atlanta. Jack Arute is in the pit area. Here's Jack.
Grant, congratulations. They almost pulled us right out of it talking to each other. A great run. 4 tires seemed to make the difference, though.
It did. We had a right rear going away, and I knew we had to have some, so we just took them.
Did you really think, though, before that you had a chance at winning?
Yeah, really, we thought we were in the ballpark. We were just kind of taking it easy, trying to save our tires. And then I thought, well, we're so close, let's just get forward and make it simple.
Well, it'll be a Tennessee celebration here in Victory Lane in Atlanta, Georgia. Grant Adcox victorious.
There you go. We say goodbye to Benny Parsons and wish you a lot of luck tomorrow in the Winston Cup race, Benny.
Thank you very much.
Dewey Stevens Open Ladies Bowling coming up from Tacoma, Washington. Don't forget, tomorrow at noon here at Atlanta International Raceway, the Atlanta Journal 500, the race that could decide the Winston Cup for Dale Earnhardt. For Benny Parsons, Larry Nuber, and Jack Arute, this is Bob Jenkins. Please be with us tomorrow. We'll see you then. For now, so long, everyone.
Nobody has lower fares than United.